sorry. I've been the biggest letdown in every single server I've gone to in terms of my looks and appearance.
Oh my
I'm
God.
so sorry.
That's so awful to say about yourself.
There, I got it.
I mean, what is it that G.K. Chesterton used to say? Is that you can tell someone who is at peace with who they are when they are the greatest brunt of their own jokes. For those of you guys who don't know who G.K. Chesterton is, he's a very big advocate from like the early 1900s for education, and he was quite the healthy fellow, and supposedly he would oftentimes make jokes about about himself whenever he attended a conference. So he'd go to New York and try to get into like early taxi, and they said if you try to
Right.
get in sideways, you'll get in. He's like, no, I am
That's
equal on all
You
sides.
try to get in sideways.
Check this out. Look at this pizza.
He's like,
now.
you will find it.
Look at that.
Okay. Wow, way to rub it in our face. Now hold on, let me
I
bring my
know.
biscuits and gravy.
It's a
Wow.
Put it on
Diablo with a
this
cheese
cam.
crust. So
Pepperoni.
good. So good. Uh,
Pizza,
On a
pizza, pizza.
pizza date.
Is he coming? Where's he at?
Pizza date. I hate that
No,
you guys can see my
no.
laundry pile. And I
Eating
can't
on
figure out
camera
how to
is like
make
the
it
last thing you want to do.
not show up. It's bothering
That's
me.
okay. That's why my camera's over here and not on that screen. Is because
Well,
the
and it,
rest
yeah,
of the
like,
stuff
and
is
then I
not
end up like off camera
visible.
and shit.
That's okay.
My camera's
Yo, last thing I want to do is eat in front of people. But
Okay, listen here, Griffer. I am an educator. I'm a teacher. I don't work at Walmart.
what's wrong with that? I want to
Well, he
work
was
at
saying
Walmart.
I look. What was it? He looks like he
John.
works at Walmart, but claims to write screenplays and delivers pizzas on the weekends. Stop naming all of my previous employment, okay? I am now a truly impoverished teacher who does not make anything but loves his job, and even though he gets like 4 hours of sleep.
What do you teach, by the way?
Well, this year I'm in the upper school, so I'm mainly teaching histories, but
Oh my
I
God.
do have an earth science and a Latin class this year as well. Last year I taught mostly. Okay.
All right.
Oh dear, Lord have mercy.
Who's starting? Yeah,
Oh, you
John.
want me to go? Okay, I'll keep going. All right. Well, most people would know me as John Charleton. My name is actually John, believe it or not. I know, hard to believe, but I've been playing around, following after Mamie's footsteps for what, going on a year now, Mamie. And I have been the thorn in Jemma's side for some time, and much to her chagrin, and as she
Corny
smiles
joke
over there.
connoisseur.
Speaking of
Mhm.
that, I'm going to take a
Taking the
moment
dad
now to
joke.
fulfill my one dream that I've had since I joined the RP
Oh
community with
no.
Red M, and that I'm going to. Oh shit, my phone's over there. Basically,
live
since you
joke.
guys are stuck listening to me, I wanted to remind you guys about why we call birds that fly over the sea seagulls. Because if they flew over the bay, we'd call them bagels.
Oh
So,
God.
with that out of the way and
Oh
my
my
dream
God.
completed.
I was channeling some hardcore Charlton puns the other day.
You know what? You got
Yes.
Andy doing it because Andy even popped a pun the other day.
It was Kezzy though.
Don't
It
ever
wasn't
let
Andy.
me-
Well, it was Andy, but was it Andy or was it Kezzy? I can never remember.
Andy.
It was Andy? Oh, that's right. Okay. I forget which one
Oh,
it was.
man,
It was
I
a
mean-
story, I'm pretty sure.
It was very unlike Andy
Well-
to do that.
It's so funny because
yeah,
you know
I
it's
don't-
it's like singing in the showers. It's like singing in the shower. It's all fun and games until you swallow the soap. Then it's just a soap opera.
Oh my God.
But no, but in all seriousness, I've been doing RP for almost a decade since I was a teenager up in Alaska, and I've traveled the world multiple times. Really well traveled. I'm a history nut. Do not get me started, or we'll be here for an hour and a half. And I am a historian, and I've been doing this for about a year now in specific Red M environment, and most of that's been as a doctor. So that's why Jemma let me in here, is because I just had to make a promise I would keep my jokes to a minimum, and she didn't let me speak and not try to throw things at me. But
Say anything.
generally,
like
I'm just
that. You just make me sound so bad.
Gemma has the
No, you're a
sweetest eyes
sweetheart.
and the
Nice.
kindest face.
I
in the
know.
No,
world.
no,
She
it's
just-
not bad.
You would never know.
You're doing a service for the community. You're
Well,
shutting
yeah,
me up.
really.
It's wonderful.
This is the innocent look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's always that part.
Except
but no,
for
that's
this
who I
thing
am.
right here.
I'm a teacher.
This line
Dear
that
God.
goes like 6 inches deep between my eyebrows.
I
for
have a
doing
like
this
a.
at my children.
I have like a.
There's so many
Like a
stories I have
bug.
to tell now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Oh,
6.
gosh.
Stories.
I
gonna
think
guess
I
that
wanna
Griffer
What
see
is
is-
going on in
Jesus.
Andy's
see
stream?
what he's exciting.
He just. I have to tell 8 stories. I don't
so
know how to fucking do.
Who's next?
I guess I'll go next since I now have to tell stories.
Tell a story to me.
I am Andy. Hi. I've been Kezia also, and among other things, I have so many characters, but my main ones right now are Andy and Kezia. I am a delivery driver by day for Amazon, and I am a RP god at night. No, I'm just kidding.
Jemma, just to tell you real quick, I'm getting people saying you need to up your voice a little bit. Sorry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can turn her up too.
Well, I hear her fine, but just for the stream's sake, Scrappy was saying
I
she
probably
sounds a
have to.
little flat.
Do I need to be like closer to it, like freaking camera? Like as soon as I stick my face close to the thing, I need to get one of those fancy boom things. That's
Yeah, right. Just like swing it into.
Yeah,
I have mine's like over here. I have to. This is mine
Mine's
over
right
here.
This is mine right here, right there.
Yeah, mine's right here, but it's pretty
You need
good.
one of those.
Anyway, so I have been RPing online for 8-ish years. I think it's almost gonna be 9. A long goddamn time. I RP'd. I played D&D and stuff with my friends since I was a teenager as well. Whoop whoop. But yeah, I think online roleplay is a little different than that, but doesn't have to be. But you know, when you're younger, you just sort of play the game to play the game, and you know the RP. You don't get into like that deep RP as much because you're uncomfortable with being vulnerable in that way with like your friends. So it's mostly just smashing things. But fun fact, I still play with that same group that I used to play with back in the day from like high school. So yeah, every 2 weeks we get together and we play. So other fun facts. I don't even know. I love RP. I don't know. I stream obviously.
What is that? Is that a 20-sided dice behind
Yes.
you?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
I just wanted to make sure
I
that
got it for
wasn't losing
Christmas.
my mind.
No, it's a D20.
I got it for Christmas
Okay.
from my
that's
players.
Only
Even
Andy
a
would have a
dodecahedron.
D20. Mike.
Yeah.
I both
As
both
a
both my
background.
mug and my this thing I got for Christmas for from my players. So yeah, they're awesome. Yes, I am a DM. What else? I don't know. I'm the DM of my group usually. I love RP. I love RPing with all these lovely people. I was a doctor on Andy for a while. I don't even know how long, but a while. I was senior doctor in one county and then lead doctor in another, and then I was like, you know what, I don't want to do doctoring anymore. So now I'm a deputy. But yes, which is honestly kind of similar, other than, you know, picking people up. But it's honestly similar.
Equally as stressful.
Equally as stressful.
Because people like you as a doctor, they hate you as law.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
every
the thing
time.
is, even
Oh, really?
but the thing is, even as like Andy and especially partnered with Mamie, it was still fairly stressful. So
what are you trying to say?
nothing.
Anyway,
Anyway, so that's
Mamie was a pain in the ass.
so that's
Yeah.
me. I didn't stream until Jackie was like, you have to stream. So now I stream.
So it's her fault.
Like I dragged
She's the one who
her.
got me into
Yeah, I
roleplay. She
dragged
got
her
me in this
here, and
frickin'
now
rabbit
and then
hole.
she dragged me into streaming. So
Yes.
yeah.
All right, Jemma, you're up.
So I'm Becca. If anybody doesn't actually know my actual name,
I actually didn't know that.
Oh, really? Huh?
Yeah, you
See
never
that,
told me.
John?
I
You
was
always
talking
be
Jemma.
Jemma to us.
I still call her Jemma, even though I know that it's terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
everybody
it'll be
knows
forever
me
Jemma.
as Jemma. It doesn't matter, really.
I mean, it's
think
not like I
she'd
use
be
your name. It's
dead,
generally
and
when I
I'd
say
still
hi
be
by
called
jokes.
Jemma.
Yep.
Which is fine because she was the first Red M character I had. Actually, my first night in game, I didn't know how to get on a horse. I didn't know how to arm a gun. I certainly didn't know what med RP was. And I got attacked by a wolf, and somebody threw me on Mamie's porch. And
Oh
that's
my
kind of
God.
how I started.
Bogo's in
Yeah,
here.
that's what I
I'm
was
sorry.
saying. Bogo just
It
got
was
in
a
here.
long time ago. I mean, my role play goes back. I mean, I'm an old lady, so for a really long time. I used to play D&D and tabletop role play in like high school and the beginning of college. I didn't do it for a long time. And then actually I was a voracious reader of historical romances,
Yes,
all sorts
Min,
of
this is
time
Jemma.
regression, medieval period, all that kind of stuff. So I decided that I was going to write a book one day. And back then, MIRC chat was a thing.
Oh
And
yeah, Merc.
that's how you did role play.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know, I knew how to write. I just didn't know how to write like relationships and sex and that closeness kind of thing. So I literally went in there and I just lurked in channels and watched people erp to know how to describe it without being vulgar. And it was like an educational experience for me, and it ended up being the first place that I role played in.
You too, Bogo. Good to see you too.
Yeah. And it, I mean, it blossomed from there really. And the idea, like I played 5M forever. When I learned there was, you know, Western role play, I was all in. And I think that was probably a little over a year ago at this point, but maybe not quite. And I've, you know,
I think
been
you and I
addicted ever
started
since.
around the same time, didn't we? Weren't we?
You were in Old West when I came. You know what I mean? Like I said, my
But
first
you were part of
day
the,
Started
you were
with
part of the
Doc RP,
Benedettis, though.
so
Wasn't that
attacked you.
before my
Yes.
time?
No, I mean that
Yeah,
was
yeah. I mean,
you were
sometimes that's
in
how people start with
Valentine, and
Doc.
that was
that's
in
true.
Saint Denis and stuff like that. But yeah, I
She just threw you.
started
She
as a
didn't.
criminal. My Dr.
Just threw you
RP didn't
somewhere,
come
what?
until later. I actually shadowed under you guys, and they're the ones who initiated me into Dr.
Oh, that was when we got to
Good old
share one.
Yeah,
shadowing
that
under
was
Mamie.
great. Yep, and
You
I
were
had
one-
Under Mamie.
my
Good
big
memories.
initiation. And,
Oh my
and
God,
I
yeah, that was
I'm
good.
still angry at you
Well,
guys.
we-
I still am angry
we-
at you guys for that.
Well, the thing is,
I really thought for sure they wanted information on sweets, and I was fucked because I had basically just started to kind of hang out with those guys, and I'm like, oh Jesus, now just because I happen to talk to these guys, I'm gonna get ganked for
and the
it.
thing was, the reason that we started doing that was because I, like, for my, when I first got, you know, indoctrinated, you know, when I became a
Very
doctor, it was just sort of like, oh, now you're a doctor. And I was like, I feel like there should be more than that for, you know, like crossing over into to celebrate, do the Hippocratic Oath, do something, have a little celebration. And I know that it was hard sometimes because doctors are all over the place sometimes and they can't always be in one place to like celebrate something. But I wanted to do something as like an initiation for doctors that they would remember, you know, to give them a little bit of RP and to have a memorable experience of becoming a doctor. So I was like, hey, Mamie, we should just kidnap them and take them out too.
That was the most fun I ever had.
Have that. That's one of my like.
We'll show
my
that
YouTube,
clip one
I have
day.
a little Gemma's
I honestly
life thing, and that's I have that saved.
And I honestly got the idea because Rolo and a lot of the deputies would talk about how they would haze their, you know, initiates when they became deputies. They would trick them or prank them or something. And I was like, you know, I could probably do something like that, but something that, you know,
God, it was fun.
It was pretty. It was really good.
It was
I really
fun
enjoyed
to have
doing those.
Mamie could be a pretend criminal for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Well, and I had been playing Red M for such a long time, and it wasn't. That was like literally, I think, the first time I got kidnapped.
We did. Oh,
and that's why I said, like, during my stream, because I had streamed it too, or maybe I pulled it off of your stream.
Bogo said,
you can hear me freaking out about it because I'm like, Jesus Christ, all this time I've been here and I'm about to get killed by two doctors.
Yeah, it was great too because you were pissed. You were pissed.
I was livid.
So scared.
Oh,
and see, the thing is,
Gemma was the best reaction we had, though.
Deputies.
She was. That and Arlo.
Arlo, yeah. But he was so sad. He was so
I actually
sad.
felt bad about Arlo because he was like really genuinely sad.
He was like, oh, these are all the friends I ever made. And now
let me introduce myself real quick. I guess we get this shit show on the road, huh?
She need no introduction.
Jackie. Um, I played Mamie for a long time. I'm now playing Tilly. I started because Andy drugged me into this shit. I was playing Daisy Underground, and I sort of fell into role play. It's a long story, but
No, it's not.
Andy
It's a very
started
short story.
inviting me. It was
It's
a very short story because I was very terrible.
Andy was crying in a cage or something.
I was
and
crying in a
No,
room.
I was in a bandit group, and she was the hostage, and the leader of our bandit group was a big role player, and I was just supposed to be furniture in the scene. You know, I was just supposed to be there. She was streaming, and
This piece of furniture ever
and she had to
Mhm.
go, like, I don't know if she disconnected or had to go AFK or something, but she left me standing in the room with Andy's character, Kaylee, who's like role playing the shit out of herself. And I'm standing there supposed to be I didn't know how to role play. I was just pacing the room like an idiot. And I'm like, oh, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Ended up being that my character ended up sort of helping her. She ended up dying in that scene, but
She gave me a
the baby
shovel.
didn't. And I ended up, yeah,
She gave me a shovel against a full
I did.
automatic. The
Yes,
fuck
I
was
did.
I
It was
gonna
all I
do
could
with a
do. All right, all
shovel?
right. Yeah, I did.
It's like the
Anyways,
frying pan in what's that
yeah,
game
PUBG,
called? PUBG,
Yes,
the immortal
yes,
frying pan.
yeah.
You gotta MacGyver that shit.
So anyway,
MacGyver the hell out of that shit.
basically I started role playing a little bit, then it blew up and it became a big story on the underground server, and my character ran away with her baby and tried to help the baby and all that shit. And eventually my character permed. And then I kind of took a break for a while, and Andy kept messaging me and saying, "Have you seen Red M? Have you seen Red M? Have you?" And I'm like, okay, not really interested, but and I kept putting it
Yeah, and I
off
was
and
like,
putting
I'll
it off.
buy
And
it
one
for you.
day-
I'll buy it for you. You're gonna
Yeah,
come
then
in.
she was like, "What's your Steam?" And I knew immediately what she meant. No, you're not going to buy it. I'll come in there. And then I went in there, and it was done.
It was
I walked
over.
in there as Mamie, and it was over. She gave me a doctor role, or got me on as a shadow. I met who did I meet first? Maddie, I think I met first, and then Savannah. And
Oh,
then it just
Savannah.
I will always
Yeah.
remember Old
I
West
miss
for
them.
that, and I will always be grateful for that. It was an incredible ride. It really was.
Mhm.
Despite everything that happened in the end, it was some of the best role play I've ever experienced, and it was great. But anyway, I'm a nurse in real life. I work in psychiatry. I started on acute psychiatric care. I went to general psychiatry, and now I'm in geriatric psychiatry. Thanks, Bogo. Um, let's see, is there anything else? I don't think I'm old and I have Parkinson's disease. That's something that I used to play a lot of first person shooters, and that was where my gaming really got its start, was first person shooters, but my fine motor skills are gone, so I really can't do that anymore. I did a lot of artwork, but lately I have stopped doing it because I can't draw anymore. I can draw a little bit, but it's too hard. So I really feel for people who have disabilities, whether it's a mental disability, a physical disability, whatever. Uh, and I love this place. I love Retribution. I'm surrounded by people that I've known for a very long time. I feel safe to role play with. I love you guys. So.
Yeah. Someone in my chat is what is an SW background, John? What is
SW background?
He said I see his SW background. What is that?
That's a piece of artwork. So I'll add on a little bit more about my RP experience. Like you, I did a lot of D&D for about a decade, but I came here from a short stint in Fallout 76, where I met some very dear friends who brought me into Red M. Kala, if you're watching, I love you, you little heathen. And just so you guys know, I joke about that because I'm actually a very conservative Christian man. This is my school shirt, private Christian school. Most people don't realize that about me. The reason I have this background is because before that, like 3 weeks of Fallout 76, I've been in 1,000-member Star Wars, or what's called SWTOR, the Old Republic, Star Wars: The Old Republic RP, and in there I was a Sith Lord. I was a mystic, and so I was the big scholar guy. So if you guys can see it, this is my character here. His master, who essentially filled in his vacant father role, and the other two apprentices that were trained together with him. He gave up my character through some wonderful RP story and real life kind of kicking me in the teeth as a first-year teacher. Gave some opportunities for some phenomenal role play, and it's mostly text-based, but we are a tightly knit family, and that was one of the surprise pieces because my master in real life kind of had
No,
some
John.
hard times.
I
I'm not going to
cannot
discuss
do
here, but
that.
essentially, as a gift, I spent me and the other apprentices spent about $200 to have this piece commissioned for us, and each of these have little things that our characters had
I don't have
uniquely.
kittens.
And I had that commissioned, and I keep it as my screensaver because I might not be as active on my Star Wars anymore. But basically, um, I still keep in touch, and I go on and have some fun every now and again. And it's just some wonderful memories with some very dear friends. So that's why that background is there. That,
Ooh.
and I have another one in my saved for my apprentices. So I got to teach them
Cool.
and teach them very well. Oh man.
All right, shall we actually dip into the actual topic?
To the
Yes.
to the thing at hand.
Yes. So Dr. RP. We all have a lot of experience with it. It is a thankless sometimes. Sometimes it's the you feel like a res bot sometimes kind of a thing. And sometimes you get those really good ones, you know, where you feel like you're a medical genius and you you save someone's life. So it's no, John, I cannot do that. I cannot do a handstand and juggle kittens. That is, I don't have any. No.
I bet you could
Oh,
if
it's
you
a
really tried.
handstand first,
And he can do
then
anything.
juggle the
She can do
kittens
anything.
after.
The best I could
Yeah.
do is somehow figure out how to flip my screen and then do this, and then I don't have
Your
any
camera will
kittens,
start
so
doing this,
you're just
shaking it all over the place. See
She's
how
a
it goes.
theater person. She'll use special effects to her advantage. There, she's doing
Oh
a
dear.
handstand. Look at there it is.
Oh, the memories of collabs with the theater department in college.
I also am a theater person. That's something I forgot to mention previously. Theater person, technical theater, not the other kind, which is the backstage
Well,
stuff.
I was too shy to be a theater person. Oh my
So
god.
was
Are
I.
you
I regret
kidding
it.
me?
My biggest regret. If I knew then
Standing
what
in
I know
front of
now, I'd have been
people?
all
Fuck
over the
that.
place. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, if I could do it now.
Now my
I'd do it.
camera's freaking
I
out.
was typically buried in books to be a theater person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I went buried
I
in
was
books,
good.
theater
Gosh.
person, then whoever,
Library
whatever the hell.
nerd right here. Librarians were my best friends.
Yeah,
I
me
was
too.
a
I mean,
Still
I
are.
would.
Oh my god.
volleyball sports junkie. I was a jock.
You were a jock.
Yeah, I was a jock.
I
Stan!
would show you
Oh my
guys
god,
the
long
like
time no
300
see, Stan.
books I have over there.
Yeah.
All right,
I have
well,
lots.
who wants to start and what particular area of medical RP should we start on?
Well,
There's being a patient and then there's being a doctor.
let's let
I
the
think
chat
that's what we're
decide.
doing. All right.
What do you think, chat? Patient perspective or doctor perspective?
Which one first?
Patient, doctor.
I got one
Oh,
for
it's
patient, one for doctor,
50-50.
Mamie's.
John votes poetry.
Doctor.
Scrappy says doctor.
I could bring out some good poetry.
Perfect patient.
Best dad jokes.
Poems
So
by
what?
Andy.
What?
John!
That's not an option.
John! Oh, the county shuffle. The
Oh
county
no.
Shuffle.
No, let's
Oh,
not
God,
do that
that
right
was
now.
great.
That's a different.
That was
That's
great.
a different.
Oh, we gotta tell that story again someday.
Doc. Yeah, it looks like doctor. There's a
So
couple
start
docs
with,
from
let's start with Dr. RP. How to be a good doctor.
How to be a good doctor. Okay. Who wants it first?
I don't know. The
I
first thing to remember
volunteer
is,
Jemma.
Yeah.
Jemma.
Yeah, the first thing I think everybody has to remember is, as a doctor, you're not controlling the scene. You're just kind of guiding the scene. The person who's injured is controlling the screen or the scene. And I think that's important for patients to remember too. Like, I think they forget, because maybe they got attacked and their actual, Toon's head got blown off and they think, oh my God, I'm dead. You know what I mean? How do I? And I remember that as a patient too. The first time I got, mauled by a cougar or whatever, how do I deal with that kind of thing? What if somebody, decides to kill me kind of thing? And you kind of have to realize that the person you're working on is in charge, but it is your job to guide them through the process. You know, I
Yeah.
think that was probably the biggest thing I learned.
Yeah.
Is that if you're a doctor, you're kind of a role play teacher by default.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I think also it would have been what's helpful in this too is in understanding that the patient is in control. The patient subject is another subject, so it's kind of hard to keep it on the.
Right. Yeah.
I think Gemma's right. The biggest role I think the doctors have is that they are the teachers in that situation, and it gets frustrating. I know that as a doing doctor role play, there's nothing worse than knowing that every time you run up and meet a person who is downed, that person doesn't know how to respond to you. And so you have to try to find a way to communicate that without breaking the role play or going out of character. And sometimes it's really difficult to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I completely
Yeah,
agree.
that's a
Truly.
hard balance to learn.
And have people understand.
Truly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
One
with
thing
the
I
slash me's and stuff.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead. Ladies
No,
first.
no, go. Catholics first.
Oh. I'm not Catholic.
Wow.
Somebody said you were.
Just
I'm
because I
Catholic,
speak, it's
I'll go
probably
first. No.
Mike.
It says
Well,
St.
he's-
Luke on your shirt, though, isn't it?
That's my
Christian,
schoolhouse.
just
Yeah.
Christian.
Basically,
See,
Oh.
my school is so cool. We have like Harry Potter houses,
Oh,
except
yeah,
they're
I
like
did.
named after saints. Anyway,
Go
that's
ahead,
something
Andy.
that really people I think like run into a lot is that they don't know how to use slash me, they're new, or they don't really know how to respond because most people aren't going to go up and be like, oh, my character has received a gunshot wound to the upper left shoulder with no arterial damage or bone shattered. It is completely just a through and through, and they're just going to just need some stitches, some packing, and we're done. Most people aren't going to be able to just rattle that off in a slash me. And as doctors, we really need to kind of keep that in effect as we arrive on scene. Most of the time, they either don't know what they want to be wounded with, or they think, just like you said, their head's been blown off. There's no way you can fix a blown head.
Yeah,
As
like I
much as I
can't
try.
make that a scratch. You know?
yeah. I
You
had
can't change the game
literally
mechanics,
a
unfortunately.
torso be brought into my
Yeah.
office, and I was like, "What do
The
you want
same
me to
thing
do about
happened.
this?
You're supposed to
They
role
brought
play
me
it
a
like it's, yeah.
torso. What do you want from me?"
Something that was brought up and has been brought up to me by Memphis several times is he has a different way of doing things. He wakes them up first. I
Yeah.
usually don't but in the long run, it probably would make it easier for the person and for yourself if we did wake them up first. And then when it comes to
Yeah.
torsos, I've learned to have them load skin because
Reattach.
it just gets too disturbing to try to
Yeah.
stand there and pretend to role play over someone who's missing all their arms and legs and their head.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Awful.
it does distract from the quality of the role play.
That's another
But it's
thing.
a
One thing,
choice, you know.
it's about a 50-50 in my experience, because I've had some people who very skilled in their slash me's who
Yeah.
respond well to if or let me go ahead and give this example. If you do have a situation where you don't revive them first, you can look for generic wounds. I arrive on scene as Charleton back when I was a doctor. I'm no longer a doctor, just forewarning. But I look for any wounds. Do I see anything? And they can reply yes. And I know as a doctor, I'm going to look for gunshots, stab wounds, and
Animal
abrasions,
bites.
bruises, scratches,
Yeah.
something. Yeah, exactly. General things. And they have the opportunity to specify. And if it's like an animal bite, okay, res them up. They'd be awake for this. But if it's like,
Yeah.
for example,
exactly.
Charlton the other day got hurt. For like the first time I've ever had him like actually hurt, one of the few times, was I got shot in the shoulder and I didn't have any health already. So I went down. So I just said I took a graze that balanced him off his kilter and he fell down and knocked himself out on a rock. So I had a big welt on the back of my head. He was unconscious and he had a massive headache. But the actual wound was just a minor graze, like right here on his shoulder. So he's unconscious and bleeding, but his head wasn't smashed in. He just had a really big bruise on his head. And so that was just it justified him being unconscious, but was such a minor wound that it was just get him up, make sure he's okay, give him some water, make sure he doesn't go to sleep for the next 3 hours because he definitely has a concussion, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that and John has made a comment here, and being the server owner in Retribution, the direction he wants to go to is wake them up and talk to them. I will say that I think it's good that you do that, but I also agree with John Charleton up here that there are
Just call me
injuries at
Charles.
times
Just
where it is absolutely not realistic that they would be conscious, awake, and responding to you. And those serious scenes need to be respected, I think, because, um, you know,
Question on that would be wake them up, but wake them up where? Like I have always been of the practice that if you find somebody out there, you bring them back to the office and then you deal with it,
yeah, I don't,
regardless of what their injuries are. But what I've noticed a little bit more now is you'll do that and they'll actually RP like bleeding out on the back of the horse. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
yeah,
you didn't field treat them. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
right,
that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
The
So
stabilizing part first, and then
yeah.
getting them to where you can actually do surgery on them
but
somewhere.
Yeah, 'cause
I,
you don't want
I
to be
just
doing
don't
surgery
feel
out in
like
the
it's
desert.
realistic to believe that everybody would be conscious enough to talk to them when you're treating them, especially with some of the injuries we see in the office. But I understand John's point of view too. It makes it easier than slash meing people to death. But
Because yeah, a lot of people don't even know that you can, like, while you're down, that you can use those WASDs
To look
to
around.
move
Yeah.
your
yes,
view so you can actually see slash me's and you're not staring at the ground or
Yeah.
something like that.
Or often
in
see.
case
That's
anyone didn't
another
know,
problem
you
with
can now
that.
do that. That is
Yeah,
a
yes,
please
yes,
know that. Yeah, just don't hit your E muscle because then you accidentally
yeah.
respawn. So make
So
sure you
you
know
can
where you're
use your
I've done that
movement
before many
keys. You can use
times.
your
I
movement
have
keys to
to.
look around when you're unconscious
Yeah.
on the back of a horse or anywhere. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Another thing that I
Somebody
think
asked that earlier.
another thing that I
Oh,
think is
geez.
important to consider when you're dealing when as a patient or a doctor, when you're oh god, someone's calling me. It's nothing.
Mhm.
That's
I'll
okay. I'm
ignore it.
getting told off in
Um
my DMs. Apparently, I'm not supposed to get hurt
oh no.
ever. Charlton is not allowed to be hurt ever.
But another thing to consider with doctor RP is that every doctor that you're going to come across and every patient you're going to come across is going to be different. Every doctor's a different way. You know, some really like to know all of the, technical terms of everything and how to do every single, procedure by the book. And, some doctors who RP doctors are actual doctors or EMTs or, people who have this actual knowledge. But it's important to realize that not everyone is that. Some people just do the typical Western, like medicine and from like the movies where they just give you some alcohol, slap a like cauterize it, and pull something out and be done with it. So
Beat up a knife, apply
just
to
to
the
put a
wound.
little reality into the situation, my grandmother watched her mother die in 1920 from a car accident because she had a punctured lung. They couldn't do anything about it. She was in a hospital in Kansas City. Even in 1920, those things were not real treatable. So what we
And
do in role play here, we don't want to see people surviving catastrophic injuries on a regular basis. Don't come in there and tell me, I got a bullet hole through my left lung. It's punctured. My femoral arteries bleeding out from my thigh. I've got a gunshot wound to the head that's fractured my skull.
Yeah,
I
like I
expect me to
literally
let
have
you
a
live.
bullet lodged in my
I will
brain,
literally
Yeah.
make the call to kill you if you do that.
yeah, when people
And
say they've been
perfect
shot in the
comparison.
head, it's like, are you
yeah,
sure it wasn't
don't
just
shot in the head. You're
your
dead.
ears
You're
off or
dead.
something? You just grazed
Yeah.
something? You sure? And they're like, no, I shot him in the head. It's like, great.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Yeah.
here's
Or
a
the
perfect
stomach,
example.
shot in the stomach. I'm
Oh
sorry,
God,
but
don't
if
get me
you're
Well, that's
shot in the
another one. I
stomach,
hate that.
you are
Yeah.
gonna die the most slowest, torturous
Yeah,
death
it's the
ever.
worst.
Yeah.
So just,
Abdominal
what I mean,
shots
move
are
it to the side a little
slow.
bit or something.
Yeah, get it a
Yeah.
graze.
The
One thing I would
important.
like as doctors, we need to always specify because I remember having a patient who was in I can't remember if it was Western or Old West, but essentially he did get shot in the gut or was I think it was a brain injury or something. But essentially, I said, "Oh God, if this is the case, this man's gonna die. There's nothing we can do here." And let me just double check to make sure that this is the right wound, because just
You want
to
to
bring
give
it
them an
back into the
Yeah,
opportunity to
topic,
get out
you
of
want to
it.
get the
Get
Yeah.
still
out of
fix
it.
Yeah, we had
to get
Yeah.
out of it
yeah.
because a lot of people don't know
Yeah.
that that's the case. Perfect example. I had an EMT character back in Western as a sheriff. FYI, I did more doctoring as a sheriff than I did as an actual doctor. Um, he
You mentioned that
basically
actually.
yeah, yes, I didn't tell you this story, but all the happy fun times over there is probably my fault. I'm sorry,
I want
but
to bring
forgive
up a
me, Gemma.
comment when you're done.
But
Remind me.
basically, okay, I'll remind you. But basically, as doctors, you have the option. Yes, some of the more advanced, like for example, brain surgery. Yeah, it kind of existed in 1900, but it was so primitive that you had like a single digit chance of survival. For
Yeah.
example, I had an injury where basically the front of his skull was caved in chunks, and I had to remove it and a little aluminum plate in. And the
And
entire time I'm saying
they
I
just
have,
didn't do
they didn't
that. They
care.
just didn't do that. No, they didn't. You were dead.
I told them you have about a 5% chance of having your brain function at least at 50% capacity. I'm like, you're not going to
After
survive
that,
this.
I
You know the
actually
one I'm
ended up
talking about.
I ended up having to send a telegram out to the doctors because there was like it started like a trail of like 3. So I like
Yes.
saw that one and I was like, ooh, a miraculous brain surgery. Okay, that's cool. And then it was like the next day there were like 2 more. And then the third day there was somebody putting like aluminum in somebody's spine or something. And I was like, yo,
Yeah.
wait a
Yeah,
minute,
and that
guys.
was
We
not.
need to
Yeah.
like
Just be warned, we will not
bring
be
it
doing that
back.
on
We can't all be
Retribution.
miracle
No.
workers here. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Once in a while it's fine, but
And it's-
Whiskey was the best.
Yeah.
was
If there's
the
like a
best
specialist
antibacterial
or
and-
something that if there's like a doctor
best way.
specialist or something.
All right, let me bring up this comment real quick before it gets lost in my chat. Someone said here, my problem is finding doctors who actually want to do medical role play. I've been blessed to have doctors like Prudence, Charleton, and I've seen Elsie do the medical RP as well. But half the time you get doctors who just want to bring you up and send you on your way. I love the doctors who spend time together with everyone, and I love the daily checkups as well. It seems like you get about half and half.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah, I'd like to
absolutely
comment
right.
on that one.
Doctors who just lift people up and run will eventually be removed from the office, especially
Yeah.
on the server that we're playing on now, because medical RP is important and it needs to respect both the patient and the doctor or the person who's playing the role of the doctor.
Yeah. And
And the one thing, oh, sorry.
no, you go ahead. Do your thing.
yeah.
I'll
comment
wrap it
after
up really
them.
quick by saying that the one thing you don't want to do is scare people from wanting to play a doctor in role play, because it's not difficult. And I think a lot of people are very intimidated that they're going to run into situations that they can't deal with. And I can promise you, there is nothing that you're going to find in the Old West in terms of medical RP that you're unable to do. Google is not your best friend as a doctor. I'm not. You do not want to do that because you would get a lot of mixed information. Go
Like
ahead.
if somebody
I have
presents
found-
something to
oh,
me and
man.
I have nothing to do, like I have no clue. Do you know what I mean? Or like the normal things I would do, like, okay, I take the bullet out or whatever, and now they're gushing blood or something. And it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah.
flipping through
Stuff,
books,
fact,
trying to
fact,
figure
fact,
out,
fact.
Yeah.
like
Going
what to
through web
do, and
pages and
I
holy
actually had
crap.
somebody pull compartment syndrome on me because they were a nurse and they knew that I was a nurse. So they brought a patient in and described these symptoms. And compartment syndrome is hard to explain, but that's something you're not going to run into in RP. But this person happened to be a nurse. They knew I was a nurse and they pulled it on me just to see if I would find it. And I did. I was really proud of myself. But
Been hypovolemic shock before
yeah,
from
shock
giving
is
a direct
thing that-
transfusion and shit like that, you know?
Direct transfusions, that's bullshit. You'd kill
Yeah.
somebody. You'd kill somebody. And I've always
Well, and
hated
yeah,
to see that. I
the
have
blood
always hated to see
types
that.
and all that, and it's like, you
yeah.
know,
yeah.
and they're like,
Most
give
people
them
wouldn't even
blood,
know
and I'm
what
like,
that
where
is
am I
at this
going to get
time.
blood? You know
No.
what I mean?
They
There's no
might know
blood.
what
I
it
don't have
is,
a
but-
refrigerator.
Yeah.
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 Or anticoagulants for that matter,
Yeah.
which you need for transfusions. That's another thing, you know.
Yep.
But anyway, go ahead.
I was going to wrap that up with a good comment. As doctors, we are oftentimes walking a tightrope. I'll use retribution, for example. I could bring in the most detailed medical RP that a lot of, all of us here can do. We've all done it before. Back in Old West, I was performing craniectomies with an invention that was in 1900, brand spanking new stuff, because these people would come to me and ask, hey, can we do a skin graft, which started back in the 1880s where it was actually workable. And I'm like, yeah. So I'd spend an hour and a half just going through the medical RP with these people that wanted to do it. And as
Right.
doctors, you have that opportunity in general. For example, with retribution, generally you're going to keep it very simple. You're not going to go and do these detailed, long operations because we are not in Saint Denis or a modern city where these things are fresh, brand new. You're out in the middle of nowhere. You've got whiskey and a knife. Heat up the knife, apply it to the wound, and cauterize it shut, and let it naturally fix itself up. So it's a balancing game, and you have to assess each situation. Okay, this is a person unconscious. This is a person grievously wounded, and then you basically make that decision as you go forward. And
Basically,
if
in that
they,
day and age, the biggest killers were infections.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Infections and diseases. And
On that topic, infections and diseases. If you are going to role play as a patient with a disease that was common back in the day, like say, I don't know, TB.
tuberculosis.
oh, don't
my
even get me
God.
started.
Don't, yeah.
Oh.
No know
Just
what you're
don't
getting
roleplay TB,
into.
people. Just don't do it.
If you roleplay any disease that happened back then, consumption, you know, like dysentery, whatever, just like do a little bit of research to know what you're going to get yourself into and how fatal it's going to be. Because if I have had so many people come to me and be like, oh, I think it's TB, or they'll come up coughing or doing whatever, and like people back in those days, you would just go, they would send you to a camp with other people who had TB, and you would just basically be there to die.
You would just die there. Yeah.
Like, it was a
People
very
out their lives. 75% of the people that contracted TB in that day and age, it killed villages. It killed entire cities.
Well, and the other thing you have to realize is, as doctors, like when you come at us with that role play, we have an obligation as doctors to react accordingly, which means I'm taking you out of town by force and putting you in a camp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then that becomes force RP, and you know, I didn't want to do that. Well, you came at me with TB and you're walking around, you know, town like it's okay. You know what I mean? I have to react.
The way you would role play that out as a doctor, if someone comes to you, and I guarantee you somebody will do this to you if you role play a doctor, it will happen. It always does. There's always some nerd that comes in and does that stuff, I swear. And what you want to do in response to that is make it very clear as a doctor, if this is tuberculosis, I want you to know that you will be extracted, removed to a small camp where only TB patients exist, and you will spend the remainder of your days in that camp. You're not allowed to be out in the public.
That's what we used to, because they'd come up with coughing and be like, oh yeah, I think it might be TB or whatever, and we'd be like, are you sure? Because if that's the case, then we start getting away from it. We're like, then we need to relocate you immediately to this place, and you know, we need to make sure to check the symptoms, whatever. And some people say it's TB when it's just coughing, and they'll just come and cough and stuff. There's other like symptoms of TB. We're like, well, is there any vomiting? Do you feel weak? How long have you had it? And they'll be like, oh, we've had it for like maybe a couple of months. I'm like, you would not be standing here if you had TB for a few months. I am sorry.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the expected lifespan is like a month. Once you contract
it,
a month and a half, you're dead.
People could live quite a while,
but they would be weak. They would be better. They
would have anemias because they've got blood loss.
I mean, look at Doc Holliday. He supposedly lived a long time with TB, but look how sick he was all the time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He could barely get out of bed most days.
I had one person say, yes, I have TB. And I remember we relocated him out of town and threw him on an island and put him at the front of a boat, drove the boat out and said, get off, and left him there because it was supposedly a severe case and he felt, you know, he's vomiting all over the place. And we're like, okay, you were dying.
Which is not a symptom of TB, by the way.
Yeah. And it's just like,
I've had guys say, oh, okay, I'll just leave town. And I'm like, no, you don't get it.
No, we are moving.
You know, or I'm going to go, oh, well, I'll just go to Guarma. I'm like, I'm not going to let you take it to Guarma either. You know, you're stuck now.
At that point, as the physician, you are in charge of letting them know that this will not happen. It will not happen. And you let them know clearly in every manner possible through the role play. If you have TB and is determined that you have tuberculosis, you will be removed from this population. You will never see these people again.
Yeah.
And you just make that real clear. That being said, I kind of mourn the loss of other diseases that are not role played out. You never see people coming in with pneumonia. You never see people coming in and role playing. For example, cholera is a very treatable disease, and
Amy had cholera.
Could actually lead to a lot of good role play, because the combating cholera is all about educating the public. It's about teaching them to keep their food and water supplies clean, and a lot of small villages suffered from that, like especially the native villages, and that can, it can lead to more role play for doctors. People just don't really role play disease.
I hope someday, that we can get the whole community together for some kind of like, I don't know, like wave of, not like the plague, but like, some disease that kind of washes through the like
flu
people
is deadly, just the normal flu.
Yeah.
But like something less severe than like that wouldn't necessarily kill people, or something infectious that would go through them.
Yes, of course you can add something, Silver. Just type it in the text there. It's fine.
But I'd also like to see like snake venom stuff.
You
get bit by a snake to actually get
I remember doing that with Prudence. That was fun.
Over time and stuff like that. Yeah. Or stuff that happens to you as a character or you don't know why your stamina is draining. You don't know why you don't have any energy, and you have
Go
to go
see
to
a doctor, guys. Go.
and yeah, and have us try to figure out what it is that is wrong with you.
Yeah. And the more varied things that you bring to the table, I'm sure the happier all the doctors will be. Because I guarantee, especially in previous counties, not as much in this county, but in previous counties where all you deal with all day is 20 horse kicks or 20,
Yeah,
punches,
God.
like knockouts, or,
Yeah,
Cassie.
pigpen fights.
gets
Yeah.
so
Cassie.
boring. And that can sometimes lead to doctor burnout too, if all you do is do that. And then the other thing that's a sort of pet peeve, especially I think for doctors who really do want to RP stuff out, which happened to me a lot near the end of my doctor career, I guess, is that you'll go out somewhere, you'll ride out to some distant place, pick somebody up from like wolf attack or something, and they'll be like, "Oh no, I'm fine."
Yeah.
Just it's nothing. It's just a little scratch. It's nothing. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, thanks for making me ride 5 minutes out for absolutely no RP.
Yeah, oh, just pick me up right here. I just got, knocked off my horse.
Yep. Like that stuff can be
Yep,
frustrating.
oftentimes I wouldn't even check around, just take him back in.
That is fail RP, guys. It really is. If you get
just
get
something,
down,
a scratch,
role play it out.
anything,
yeah.
a bite, a scratch, just doesn't have to be like you're bleeding out to death or anything. Just just something a little bit. I had the other thing. There is such a thing as a patient who knows too much, and I have experienced this.
Yes.
Like sometimes it's good.
I'm guilty.
Some people are good,
I'm
but
guilty.
I had this one situation. There's a little story time here. Okay, this one situation. I go out to Strawberry.
You should bring him, Stanley. Yes.
And
Sorry.
And on a call, there's like two. I think there was one or two other doctors there, but and there was two or three patients. So I jumped on one who wasn't being taken care of at the moment, and he starts doing this thing with his /me's that's like how the normal /me's go where it's like, oh, there's a puncture in his leg or whatever. That's like the normal type. What you don't normally see is someone saying you need to cauterize the wound, or you need to do this, or you need to do that to fix this wound. Don't do that.
Yeah,
it is doctors' decisions on what they need to do. They should have the knowledge and the know-how to be able to navigate the situation. It's part of the fun is like figuring it out and being like,
agreement.
oh yeah, it's part of it. So like telling someone how to fix your wounds is not Dr. RP. That is not a give and take. No. That is just you should just doctor your own wounds at that point. Let them do it. Let them figure it out.
Yeah, don't force RP me back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
just tell them the problem and they will puzzle it out. It's part of the fun of Dr. RP is that mental challenge of figuring out what's wrong and how to fix it. So
and just so you know, all you little doctors out there on Ret RP, there is a story in motion right now. And that story involves chemicals. And you're going to have to use your brains a little bit. And I think it involves chemicals.
Hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. So
I need some good doctors,
man.
man.
For the record, I am in no way involved.
I need some good doctors.
Don't be afraid to use your other doctors in the role play to find solutions to the problem, because it's going to become.
It's going to take some creative thinking.
Going. It's going to. Yes, it is, and it's going to be fun. And I think that people need not to be afraid of it.
Yes.
I think people need to be less afraid of being patients in general. Just don't. If you're interested, if you want your character to go through something. Just if you're afraid it might be too much, reach out to the doctors that might be working on you and ask them, hey, is it okay if we do this scenario? If you want to have a more long, dragged out scenario, I don't think Memphis is against it, but I think it should be ticketed and it should be requested specifically so that people have time to prepare for it. You don't want to hold somebody up for an hour in Dr. RP after they got kicked up by a horse. That's terrible.
Or two.
We need to remember that as doctors as well.
Because that happens sometimes too.
It does.
Like doctors who are not prepared for it will be somewhere for 3 hours trying to
This
save this
leads into
patient.
that, like that thing you guys were talking about last week about breadcrumbs. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like in Dr. RP, it's a very big give and take between doctor and patient on those breadcrumbs. You know what I mean? If you come at me with a bigger list or a more detailed idea of your symptoms, then I know that you're looking for a little more in-depth medical RP, and
Right.
I'm going to try to give it back to you. You know what I mean? Instead of just stitching you up, I may put the stitches in and then ask you in a slash do, which I try to do like my questions in green just so they stick out more. You know, do the stitches hold? You know, do I see any leaks? Or, you know what I mean? So then you have a chance to be like, okay, well, let me blow an artery and see what they do with that. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And you can go
Yeah.
back and forth with it a little bit.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the chemical RP, what I'm going to give out is advice because you're going to run into it. We're there, like I said, there's a story moving right now, and you're going to run into it, I promise. And what you need to do is you need to pay close attention to the patients that are coming in. I think when we were on Old West and we were doing the Vanessa storyline at the time, Charlotte and Jemma, I think you guys were actually the ones that figured out what it was that was poisoning Mamie, right? I
That
believe
was not me. I don't
think you were part
think.
of it. But basically, what I did as Mamie is I knew what poison had been used out of character. So I had it all listed out. These are the symptoms of what this particular poison would do. And there are telltale signs for every type of poison. And the person that is giving you this crumb is going to give you the clues that you need to discover what the chemical is. So if you are a doctor and you run into someone who's been poisoned, listen to the symptoms they're describing, write them down, Google them, and you'll find your solution.
And into that more when you ended Mamie over in Western, because that was the time that you had been shot up with some kind of chemical, and
Right.
you know what I mean, and we had to do an
Yeah.
autopsy and blood
And
results
had
to
things
find
not
out
gone the
what
way
was
they went
there.
on
Remember getting
Western, we
that.
would have been finishing that out. There was a plan to actually finish that out.
But
so
I
we could
did like
discover
that
that
whole time during that whole death scene, like anything that you like that you lost control of your bladder, had convulsions,
Yeah,
you
you
know what I
listed
mean?
everything. You did
All of
every.
them. It's
Yeah.
just like anything that you threw me as a clue, I just jot it down and I'll worry about what it means later.
Yeah,
And
you did.
I'll
You
add
did list
something.
out everything.
I'll add something that I personally like to do, and I've been doing this for years with my RP, and then also in a game called Arma. I play a lot of Arma. Is I always keep a notepad right by my desk. It's over here, and it's just a simple little pad. So just in case you do run into a situation where you do need to basically keep down some notes, it is very convenient.
Mine is
Doctors
see, we're all
always got
getting their pads.
notepads.
Mine is
Yep.
electronic. So I go
Deputies
to
should
my
have them
like Discord
too.
channel. I have a private group.
Whoa!
I do
I
that
write-
too,
Out,
Gemma.
Jim's coming
I do
for
that
us.
too. I have it in notepad
I
as well.
keep
But
I
use
keep
real
this here
pads.
because every person I meet, I write down their name. Every person I meet, because I'm terrible at remembering names. I don't know if I meet people, so I literally write down people's names here, like in order of however long, whoever I meet them. Maybe a couple things about them that I notice, what they wear, what their voice is like, whatever.
Yes,
Just
Silver,
write
you don't have
down
to ask
stuff.
if you can ask questions. Just type them in the chat.
Yeah,
I'll get to
ask
them.
all the questions. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Just
that's
ask
actually a really good point.
Except
So,
John.
while he's
And
asking,
deputy's also good for
oh wait,
taking
this
notes.
John or that John?
No, the other John.
Which? Okay, gotcha. Just
Puppy
quick.
juggling John.
Charles, puppy juggling. Okay, gotcha. He's banned from questions. I'm good though. Got it.
Yeah, you
So
can go ahead.
I think it would be good
Yay.
also for doctors, for wannabe doctors, to just let you know, okay, I'm a nurse. For me, this stuff is like, I love Dr. RP. I think it's fun because
Yeah,
it's simple for me.
I don't like
And
using my
it really
screens. I
doesn't
just
have to
like
be
having it
difficult for
here
you
and
either.
just
The most
writing
common
it down,
injuries you're
so.
going to run into
I'm very old school like that.
in Retribution or in Old West in Red M in general, there's going to be your horse kicks, your animal bites, your gunshot wounds, and knockout wounds. Anything over and above that is a rare occasion. Another injury you're going to run into once in a while is people are shot in the chest, might have lung damage. Those things actually were somewhat treatable. It was very crude, and 9 times out of 10 people wouldn't live through them, but they did do procedures on those people, and they're very down in the gutter, very simple step-by-step things that are not difficult to do. And I think the plan on Retribution eventually, Gemma, if I'm not mistaken, is to have some sort of a guidebook for the more common injuries, so that people who want a Dr. RP can just go right and reference those things and look at them. I don't know if that's the case, but anybody, if you ever want to know, about Dr. RP, just reach out and to one of us, and any one of us can walk you through, the basics of how to treat a patient.
Or if you want to be a better
That's,
patient.
Yeah.
that is
That's
well.
always the thing I'm willing to do is talk people through that.
Or if you have
Prudence, that's how she and Charleton got so close, is because she'd ask him advice, and Charleton, I actually never intended Charleton to be a doctor. It just kind of happened, but basically he spent his entire life as a shipborne doctor, a ship surgeon. He became an officer after that, and not military, just on a merchant ship. But I came to Old West and actually intending to be a reverend because he's ordained. No one really picks up on that. So
we need more reverends.
you don't know
man.
that I see, no
We
meta.
need more preachers, yeah.
Yeah, more preachers, right? So I start quoting Latin at every funeral I go to. Got a lot
Latin.
of compliments on that one. Yeah, the couple of big events when I would throw people into graves, a lot of the staff events in Western, I would sit there and go through and say a Latin, little snippets from what a Latin Catholic funeral.
I did Jewish. It's Jewish.
Yeah.
One of the best, yeah. I still remember Jezreel's sermon in the Bastille.
Oh my God, yeah.
They changed
Oh,
the church
man.
of Bastille
I
or
heard
whatever.
about that.
God, it was hilarious.
Are you talking about the one about having an undereducated son or something like that? I think.
Oh,
that
there was just a whole.
It's like
thing.
the
There was,
Bible
like,
parody.
It's called Make the Bible Work for You. That's what it's called.
You know, as
So
a good
good.
Christian that I am, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Oh,
But yeah,
And,
so
yeah.
if you want to be a better,
have
better Dr. RP, have better patient RP, we're here.
If you want
to get fancy, I'll tell you how to get fancy in a very simple way. I mean, here, let me give you I love this. I love the scenario of punctured lung because it is so simple to explain. Now, if a guy comes in, he's been shot in the lung, he's having difficulty breathing. As a doctor, the first thing you do always is your triage right off the bat. You stem the bleeding, you find out where the injury is, you make sure they breathe, you make sure they have a pulse. It's that simple. That's what you start with. The next step would be if you have a guy who's got a lung puncture, okay, he's going to be having difficulty breathing. He's going to have a fast pulse. They don't necessarily know this, but if they might show you difficulty breathing and say, yes, there's a damage to the lung. Well, basically back in the day, all you do is you've got your lung. There's a sac surrounding the lung. That sac surrounding the lung protects the lungs. When a lung is punctured, air from the lungs leaks out into that lining, and that sac fills up with air, which compresses the lungs, even the good lung. And so that is the risk there, is it will suppress their breathing and kill them that way. So what you want to do as a doctor is you want to puncture a hole in that lining and drain the fluid, drain the air that is building up inside the lining from the punctured lung. It's a matter of driving a hole through the rib bones, popping a rubber straw type through the hole with force and letting it drain. That's it. That's all there is to it. Repair the lung, pull the drain out, let them go. I mean, stuff like that is simple, but if you want to do those more complicated things, just plan ahead a little bit and read up or ask some people who might have a little knowledge. But just know one thing on retribution is they don't want all of this bullshit, heavy volcanic rubber, silicate, blah. None of that stuff. We're talking, this is dirty medicine. It is whiskey. It is
we're not
whatever you can
transplanting
get your hands on.
organs. We're not giving you another kidney.
A good thing I like to always tell people, because I've had some people freak out on the table with slash me's, because I would tell them they'd have like a gunshot wound or a stab wound or have severe laceration to like the thigh or something. I had a cougar wound one time, and I told them that this has obviously infected the dead skin, and so I basically cleaned it out really well and then shoved a bunch of maggots into the wound and bandaged it.
They hate
They
that.
freaked.
Yep.
They freaked. But that was a medical
It
practice.
it was leeches too.
Yeah, leeches.
Especially
Yes.
for
Oh my gosh,
burns.
I've used that twice. People freaked out on me because a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the stuff we have nowadays has its foundation historically. I'm not going to get onto a tangent. Historically back there, and so medical maggots is what they're called. They're still used today. Actually,
They came back in like the 1970s. I use them in self-care all the time.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed it. I learned that, and I was like, dude, this is cool. Just one of those, added to my repertoire of useless information. But a lot of people modern freak out with bugs. But back then, it was so a part of life that you didn't have like really good debridement treatments, which for those of you guys who don't know, debridement basically kills the dead skin, gets it out of there, cleans it out, washes it out, all this fun things.
Maggots are
For
great
example,
for
what's
that.
the it's perfect because they only eat dead skin.
Yeah.
So they're not going to
Yeah.
eat the living tissue. They're not going to get in and
Nope.
like everyone thinks, start burrowing through your arms like some
Nope.
Yeah,
They'll eat
yeah.
zombie
dead
plague.
tissue only. They're the best cleaners there ever was. Definitely,
Mhm.
definitely. And they're still in use today. We still use it. We have
Yep.
refrigerated maggots.
Yeah, they use them in
I can
burn
see the
wars
gross
still.
comments.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. And even smoking was considered, healthy back then. Tobacco use.
Like that was one of the things Buck used to always, you know what I mean? He was, as a doctor, a big proponent of smoking.
Yeah,
weed
you
and
having
smoking.
some anxiety? Have a cigarette.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm a
Calm
smoker,
yourself
but
down.
Yeah, I'm
You
the
stutter?
smoker,
Have a
bro.
cigarette.
I'm about that.
You have a speech
Yeah.
impediment? Have a cigarette.
Yeah.
Cocaine, that was always a fun one.
Yeah,
It was
cocaine,
on its way to
heroin,
or
opium,
yeah.
all that stuff.
Some other things that are good advice for doctors who want, or people who are interested in Dr. RP, you're going to get a lot of concussions, people getting knocked out. The things you're going to look for automatically every time, same thing. You're going to look for reaction of the pupils. The reaction of the pupils they will react slowly if they have a concussion. If they have pupils that are mismatched, that indicates a bleed in the brain or that sort of thing. And that, like we've said before, is pretty much a death sentence. But you're going to want to assess their mental status. It would be look at their pupils, ask them questions, ask them their name, their location, if they know where they are. Ask them things that would be obvious that they should know. Hold up fingers in front of their face, ask them to tell you how many fingers you're holding up. Those are basic neurological assessments that you can do as anybody, as a doctor, and that's what usually you do with a head injury.
Yep. Another one to look for is any kind of fluid coming out of the ear. If you have, correct me if I'm wrong, Gemma, but is it blood or is it clear liquid that would indicate a brain bleed?
It can be
either
so
one.
It could be cerebrospinal
Did
fluid or blood.
Did you see that comment that was it Groic? Oh my God.
Do you know how to check if a maggot is lively enough to either use to fish or use medically? Put the maggot under your tongue, and instant warmth will make a healthy maggot. Oh!
See, that's gross.
Stanley,
no.
That is gross.
I mean, Stanley, I've always been a friend of your herbal remedies.
Stanley, I don't
and
know
stuff,
about you now.
Yeah. Let's not push the envelope.
The only one confused. That makes absolutely no sense to me.
I don't think that's necessary.
Stanley.
Instant warmth you can get other places other than on your tongue. What the fuck?
Oh Lord.
Yeah, I don't want to taste that.
Like if it's wriggling, it's
now, if
healthy.
If we want to go into cold survival training, I can go over that one in detail. I'm really good at that.
Cold
first-hand experience.
Jemma just don't go anywhere there's freaking snow. That's my cold survival training.
There are some limitations in Red Dead Redemption 2 for injuries. I would love to see people role play out more of these, broken arms, broken legs, be able to limp and walk like they're injured in that, but we don't have that advantage.
I mean,
like canes.
When Andy was tortured and like her legs broken, or I forget what it was like she was really injured, broken bones everywhere, her hands were broken. That sort of thing. I literally did like a stuttering walk.
I'll answer you in a second, Sylvia.
I did like a stuttering walk for like 3 weeks. It was hard. So I couldn't run anywhere. I did that for a long time, to the point where on other characters that I would play, I would start doing the walk because I was so used to doing it. So I just like take a step, stop, take a step, stop, take a step, stop. The stutter stepping.
Does Walk Style 9 make you look injured? Do we have that on Retribution?
Oh, that would be nice.
It's kind of like a drunken walk. It is a wobbly sort of thing.
Is it? I'll have to check that out.
It'd be cool if we could get a limp.
I have a question from Silver here. It says, in regards to an injury a character of mine sustained in another server, I essentially took 2 shells of buckshot to the chest at approximately 11 meters. Typically in the actual, quote, game, you'd get down to me bleeding out, but somehow I survived it in-game with a literal tiny red sliver of core. Still standing and everything. As doctors, how would you treat this? I ask because I want to get better. Well, I'll tell you what, Silver.
Lucky son of a bitch.
Option to /KYS.
Yeah, that too.
/KYS. And knock yourself out and let a doctor come and pick you up. The other option is to stumble, bleeding, and emoting it in /me's that you are bleeding out and stumble into the doctor's office
collapse.
and then collapse. And you can use /KYS to do that. That will literally knock you out.
Or go on a religious
Um,
journey where you are impervious to bullets.
yes.
I'm just kidding.
So
Wasn't
it's
wasn't
it,
I would
that a
like
thing?
add
I'm
a
trying to
comment on that
think.
one.
I'm trying to think. Wasn't there like something where God, what
yeah,
what there was
Carson
some
was
movie where like some guy got shot at a bunch and came out unscathed and he was like, I'm invincible. It went through my cloak, but not me, you know, or something. I forget what movie
yeah.
that was,
Probably a
Gemma,
but
I
Wyatt
want
Earp
one of
movie.
those. Gemma just got something nice. I want it.
aw.
Oh,
Aw.
she just got a
Share,
kiss too. A kiss
share.
and a drink. What the hell? I want a kiss and a drink. What the?
I get a lemonade from Starbucks. She came
Oh
home
my
from
God.
work and brought it for
Oh,
me. And I
See,
just
I
finished
live
my
alone.
coffee.
I don't have that
so
luxury. I had to
Me
make my own
neither.
damn coffee.
Me neither. I
Ah,
make my own.
sadness, sadness.
yes, my daughter, my nugget.
Then again, I
and
get
boyfriend.
ticked off at people who don't make my coffee properly. I'm very snobbish, so I can't say anything.
no, man.
Casey is the
Swedish
worst. Since
coffee
she's
will
been
burn a hole in your stomach.
since she's been a barista at Starbucks.
That would
she's
explain the
biggest
intestinal
coffee
problems.
snob.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
such a coffee
Yeah,
snob.
if
Anyway,
you
I
survive
would like
that,
to
that
make a
would be.
comment on the shotgun stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I've had patients who have taken like buckshot to the lung, and like I remember specifically, and I want to say this to improve because you made the comment about improving your patient RP, and I want to make a comment here. Is a lot of people don't realize how dangerous a shotgun is, especially at closer ranges. If anyone's ever shot a shotgun at targets, you know that if you're within 30 meters of a 12 gauge buckshot round, you are going to have a hole blown into you. It might not go through you, but you are going to have a hole, and because it's still condensed depending on the choke of the weapon. But I had somebody come to me back in Old West who said that he had been shot in the right lung, the right chest, and his entire lung had been perforated. And basically, I straight up asked, "Is this perma?" And he said no. I'm like, okay, as a good doctor, I now need to work on this one. And so I had to fix his lung and stitch every single hole, remove the BBs. It was like an hour and a half ordeal. The guy was there, he wanted it. Cool, fine. I was there, I had the time. It was a great RP experience. But as a good patient RP, you need to understand what a shotgun can do to somebody. And generally, the damage at close range is going to be more centered. So it's going to act like more of a regular bullet round. It's going to hit your arm and take off this entire chunk of your arm
Yeah.
rather than just hitting your skin with and leaving BBs there.
Yeah,
So
or having the
when you're
penetration
doing
factor
shotgun,
that other guns have.
yes,
So
Yeah.
you might
and
just have a
'cause
shallow hole.
it doesn't penetrate.
Yeah.
That's always an option, but don't, especially with chest wounds and the lungs, don't ever think unless you're. I think
Don't engage into
probably about
medical
5
role play
minutes.
that you don't know what the hell you're engaging in,
Oh
basically,
yeah,
as
that's
a
it.
patient.
That's a good
Don't
thing.
do it. If you don't know what the injury is you're trying to, don't try to juice it up with a bunch of
Yeah.
uneducated BS that's going to put doctors in a difficult position where they
Yeah,
have
it
to.
just ruins everyone's immersion.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's what you kind of have to realize is that
Yeah,
you
I
can't
also
be completely selfish in that regard.
I also do realize that
Yeah. Prelius, yes, that's exactly
that
right.
some of this stuff, you want your character to go through things, and sometimes injuries are the way to do that. But you still want them to survive, but you still want it to be very traumatic. So like gunshot wounds, TB, stuff like that. I get that we're not completely realistic and not being completely realistic in that you want to tell your story and you want to survive that stuff, and that's fine, if it's a good story and you're doing your thing, cool. But just be aware that as a doctor and knowing about the actual realities of some of this may make it more difficult to play that out. Like, some doctors are fine with it. Some doctors will just go through it. You'll survive every time.
Don't throw a heavy medical scenario on a doctor unless you know it's a doctor that is okay with doing it.
Like measure your doctors out.
RP on someone they may not be comfortable with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you notice a doctor who's constantly has patients or is checking up on patients or is going into those longer Dr. RP moments, be like, okay, that's the doctor that I would like to have for this thing, and maybe, I don't know, talk to them about it, or yeah,
I was contacted
or make sure they're in
for
town,
medical
or
scenarios.
what have you, so that you're like know where they operate around, stuff like that. So
But then again, you have to be careful with that as well, because I think, as all of us know, and I love Buck to death.
Oh yes.
But when he first came to Old West, it literally destroyed role play for a lot of other doctors because he was so incredibly attentive and detailed and dramatic in his
Oh
role play that
yes.
nobody else wanted anybody else but Buck.
No, it was like, oh, I'll wait for Buck.
Yeah,
And
and it's
it's like,
like,
dude, you're
okay.
gonna bleed out while you're waiting for Buck to wake
So
up
you
in
want to be
17
careful,
hours, you know?
right? You just want to make
Yeah.
sure that you don't box people in and ruin other people for the opportunity to take part in these types of bigger scenarios
Yeah.
as well.
And that goes into a really good point to be made about just the balance. Always give a give and take. Be open to the role play because you're going to run into, perfect example. Prue made a comment. You're going to run into people who aren't as experienced. I was a
Yeah.
sheriff in Western for most of my time there, and Charlton was a no nonsense law sheriff of Valentine. But people would go out of their way to ask him for medical advice. I saved Emily, Prudence, and 3 other people because they knew that if there were no doctors around, or if they had something, they could go get Charleton, who has 30 something years of experience, and get wonderful medical RP from my background. So it's always a give and take about role play. Is don't just ask for one person because then you're denying other people, and that goes
Right.
back to just general RP etiquette.
Mm.
Right. And the other thing to remember is anybody can participate in medical role play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Just because you're
Triage
not
was
a
a thing.
doctor
Yeah. Triage.
doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you
Yeah.
don't know first aid, that you don't know how to maybe cauterize a wound in the field because you were a soldier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or
Those
yeah.
kinds of things. The only thing,
I'll
you
make a
can't
comment
do
on
is
that.
pick them up.
Or
Really,
pressure
that's it.
pressure on a wound to stop the bleeding. Most people,
Yeah.
know that stuff.
Yeah,
you know.
that's exactly what
Yeah,
I was going to say.
tourniquets,
Is
all
Yeah,
that
just
kind of
like
thing.
just
Yeah.
the basic stabilizing stuff to get
Mm.
them to the doctor that that they need to get to. I mean, that happened all the time.
Yep. Even
I mean,
just slapping
using
a bandage on 'em.
retribution. Yep. I mean, using retribution as an example, this is basically emulating the Arizona territories in the late 1800s, where we're still just outside of quote unquote civilization, meaning like regular electricity and stuff. But generally, most people would know tourniquet, cauterizing wounds, general information to allow your friends to save your life.
Yep.
Because I ran into an example where someone was hurt way out in the middle of nowhere, and basically these guys heated up a knife and just pushed it onto the wound to stop an open wound from bleeding anymore. That way you can get them back to civilization so that they can be saved, and because you can reopen that wound easily
Right.
and get
Okay,
in,
so let
clean
me
it out,
take a
and stuff
second.
like that.
Somebody has asked who everybody is. Andy is top left. John Charleton is top right. Jemma is bottom left, and I am bottom right. That's that. Also, Tom brought up a good scenario when now you need to understand that you can have the best laid plans to have the best medical RP drawn out perma scenario you want, and it's notoriously going to get fucked up, guaranteed.
Well, that's another whole principle of RP.
Every
but
time.
Mamie perma'd on Western, and before she perma'd, she didn't die right away. So, but they were
Again.
trying to get her back. Again, yeah, don't bring it up. Just let's leave
Poor
it alone.
Charleton. Poor Charleton.
This time I was ready for it. This time it was time for me, and
Yeah.
anyway, so we wanted to bring story into play. So what we did is Mamie was out there. They came and got her. She's on her way back. On the way back, we were interrupted by 2 people who tried to literally take my body off a horse. What was it, Grady? I think that did that. I wanted to kill him for that. I swear to God.
And then I rode off a cliff.
And then Jemma went off the cliff.
The bridge.
And then we got attacked by wolves or something, and I just all went to hell in a handbasket. And then a local went ballistic and shot Tom. And I mean, these things are going to happen, and you have to be prepared for them. And nothing ever goes as expected.
Yep, never,
and
never ever.
See
just
that, Tom.
You think you have control, you have no control.
Oh yeah,
you just keep
control
your
is an
cool.
illusion.
You keep your cool, and you just go with it. And that's the name of the game in role play. Is you just can't get angry about these things. You can't get upset because it literally will happen all the time. And I remember AJ was looking so hard to find Jemma.
Pick me up, and I was just underwater enough that she couldn't pick me up, even though she was right above me.
I'm remembering a very fond story of going and swimming under waterfalls right about now. Oh, what a wonderful experience.
So there will be moments that are hard, but anybody can Dr. RP. And I think that's the point we want to stress tonight, is that anybody can do it, and you can do a good job of it. If you need help, there are people you can reach out to that will help you with that gladly. That being, said, I think a patient RP needs definitely a little discussion.
Why don't we do...
My turn. Go ahead, Andy.
Why don't we do a little fun scenario here?
Oh boy.
A little
oh
a
boy.
little role play,
Oh boy.
I'll say.
Yes.
Oh dear.
So maybe we could have one person be a doctor and then have like present a scenario of like what is wrong with your like what happened to your character as a patient and have the doctor kind of go through it and as like an example, we'll say. Just for everyone's
I volunteer.
and maybe some what to do and what not to
maybe.
do scenario.
Don't point at me. For volunteer me for what?
I
So
volunteer
so
on
what
my
so
part.
one doctor,
Yes, I accept.
one doctor, and
Try to
then
be the
the other
patient.
three. So there'll be a what to do, what not to do, and I don't know, like a third one that's I don't know.
Jemma drinks lemonade.
Oh,
That's what that third one will
How,
be. Jemma
okay,
just
okay,
sits
I
there
got it,
for
I got
me.
it. Okay.
Designated
So
supervisor.
so
That's what
two
it's called, Jemma.
doctors, one doctor what to do, one doctor what not to do,
Oh
one
my God,
patient
is
what
that
to do, one
Louise?
patient not
Wait
to
a
do.
minute. Wait a minute. Louise, is that you? Is that Louise that I see sitting in here that said I like pizza?
I think it is.
Is that
Not
Louise?
Daisy.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know. I don't know what
know.
I don't know
I'm
what
waiting
her
for the
Twitch
answer
is.
because of the chat delay.
Please
I'm
don't.
pretty sure it is. I'm waiting for confirmation. Is that you, Louise? You beautiful
like
woman.
Louise.
Louise,
Yeah,
Louise.
Louise
Like
Vuitton.
Anthony
It
Louise.
is. It is.
Yes.
Louise, we miss
Louise.
you. Hello.
Hi.
It is. Oh my God. Oh, blast from the past. I miss you, girl. Okay, so how are we doing this then, Andy? You're in charge.
Okay, so two doctors,
God help us.
two people to be doctors, two people to be patients. Doctors, one what to do, what not to do. Patients, what not to do, what to do. So we'll have a positive and a negative. So
I have no idea how you want this to look. I don't have a little
Because
pixelated
it's not like
character.
we can slash me.
no,
or
you could just
anything.
be like slash me. You could just say slash me whatever you want. I mean,
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, because I'm like you can't type.
no, you
anything.
can't, but you can say it. So who wants to be doctors?
I'm designated patient because I run my mouth all the time.
Fine.
Outpatient out. Yeah.
Patient.
Okay.
Okay, you and me. Maybe doctors. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be the
maybe
what
for doctor,
I'll
it
be the what
worked.
not to do doctor. And
Oh.
Jackie, you can be the what to do doctor. And which one between you two want to be the what not to do patient and the what to do patient?
I'll do the what not to do patient.
Okay,
I was
all
just
right.
gonna say John wants to do what not to do, no doubt.
Ouch! You just assume I'm always gonna do
Yeah.
the wrong
Oh
thing.
yeah. You
Okay.
just want to be a troublemaker.
Oh, there's a
that's
chair right there. Sit on the ground and read some newspaper.
Okay. So the what to do people, Jemma and Jackie, you guys do your what to do, what have a lovely, you know,
Hey, Tom.
fulfilling doctor interaction, and then we'll do a horrible, awful one.
Oh
So,
Lord.
well, Gemma, what's your? Well, let's start.
all
This is-
right. So yeah, like you come out to the woods and you find me unconscious and bleeding in the dark.
All right. All right. So I rode my horse out there, and I'm going to pick you up and throw you back on the horse. But as I'm picking you up, I'm kind of looking at what the injuries are in your body. I'm just gonna voice play it out too. So, all right,
Yeah.
I'm Mamie. Okay, so, all right, sweetheart, I got you. Let me just get you on the back of the horse here.
Yeah.
hang in
Slash
there.
me would be bleeding from a wound in the side and a wound in the shoulder.
All right, baby girl. I'm just gonna put a bandage on your arm, keep you from bleeding until I can
be right
get
back.
to the doctor's office. Hang in there. And Slash me puts on a bandage, picks her up, put her on the back of the horse.
You
We're
know,
gonna
I
ride
do a
into
Slash
town.
me
Trippity
bleeding,
trap, trippity trap.
bleeding subsides. You know, that kind of thing.
Louise, sorry. How to
What did he
RP
do?
getting rid of chlamydia for a man who is from Valentine?
Oh my god.
Jesus.
All right, so all
Send me to
right, we're
somebody
almost there, baby girl. Hang on, we'll get you to the office. Okay, trippity trap, trippity trap. I'm walking in the doctor's office, grabbing her body off the back of the horse, not parking my horse in front of the doctor's office, by the way, so that it kicks somebody else and creates another patient on the way in.
I'm terrible at that. I come to a screeching halt in front of that doctor's office and like run inside. So you know.
So I'm gonna carry you inside here. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I got you. I'm just gonna take you in the office here and we're gonna see what's wrong with you. Hold on. Trippity trap, go in the doctor's office, lay her on the table. All right, I'm just going to take a look at what's going on with you here. Hang in there. And slash me looks for injuries.
Slash me, bleeding in the shoulder seems superficial. 3 shallow claw marks. Bleeding in the side is more substantial.
All right, the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to clean these wounds up so I can get a better look at it. And I will verbalize a lot, actually, as a doctor, so that because it's for me also, but it's also slash me's can get overwhelming. So a lot of times I will verbalize, but I don't think in retribution the patients can actually hear what we're saying, which is another.
I feel like they can hear what you're saying. I just don't think they can talk.
Maybe
But I
that's
could
what
be
it is.
wrong
Let me double
about
check.
that.
But I verbalize myself. I'll be. They can hear. Okay, so I'll be like, all right, sweetheart. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit so I can see better what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, that also
And,
helps with people who don't know that they can look around and see what text you're putting out. So
Right. All
Yeah.
right. So what I got here is I'm just going to put some saline on these wounds and a little bit of whiskey to make sure you don't get a bad infection. And then we're just going to start picking them apart one by one, see what's going on. Slash
Uh,
me examines the shallow shoulder wound. Slash me examines the more severe side wound.
Slash me, side wound requires stitches. Shoulder wound is superficial.
All right. I see that this one in your side here is pretty bad, so I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to get in there and make sure there's no more severe tissue damage under the surface. Slash me, make sure there's no organ damage.
Slash me, no damage.
All right, looks pretty good. We're just going to clean this up. I'm going to stitch this up, and then we're going to get that wound in your shoulder bandaged up and cleaned up, and then I'm going to wake you up, and we'll see how you're doing. Slash me pulls out a needle and thread, begins to suture the wound in her side closed. Slash me applies whiskey to kill any bacteria in the wound. Slash me ties the last knot of the stitch. Slash me checks to make sure the stitches hold.
Yep. Slash me, stitches hold.
All right, good. I'm just going to put a bandage on this now. Slash me applies a bandage to the wound. Slash me examines the shallow shoulder wound for any sign of foreign material or debris in the wound.
Slash me looks a little dirty, but bleeding has subsided.
Slash me carefully cleans the wound with saline, applies whiskey to kill any bacteria, carefully covers the wound in a small bandage. Slash me applies smelling salts to wake the patient up. All right, sweetheart, here it comes. It's not going to smell good, but, well, we're going to wake you up.
Nasty.
There you go. And then at the end of the scenario, you're going to want to say, all right, hey, I found you out there in the woods. You've been attacked by wolves. I think I got y'all stitched up. You'll be all right. But if you start noticing anything coming from those wounds, any green or yellow discharge, start running fevers, or the wound starts looking red and nasty, I want you to come back and see me. And you need to take it easy for the next few minutes. Maybe go have a seat in the saloon. But no drinking whiskey because it's a blood thinner. It'll make you bleed more. If you have any problems, you can just come back to the office and see me.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
And also, I'm going to need your name for the patient records.
yes,
Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah, that's always
that's always a lovely.
And then you get to do the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They're all his favorite part.
All right, now the what not to do doctor and the what
All
not
right,
to do patient.
patient, where do I find you?
Trying to think of a bad scenario here. All right, I'll go with one I ran into. You get a call for a dockyard accident, and you arrive on the scene with 2 deputies kind of patrolling around the area and a corpse sitting by some boxes.
Is there anyone around? I think is that a local? I don't know if that's a local or not, but I'm gonna go. I guess I'll check.
The deputies tell you that the guy there was somebody who was fleeing from somebody and ended up running into the docks, and they were called when gunshots broke out.
Oh, that's real unfortunate. So, okay, well, I'm gonna go over here and look at this guy. I go pick him up, throw him over my shoulder. Don't do any checking, anything. Just like, all right, where am I putting? Are we going to the deputy's office? Where are we going?
The whole time he'll be just mumbling, "Help me!
He
Help
clearly
me."
needs help. I'm
And
just
he'd be
gonna
bleeding
I'm just
all
gonna
over you.
take him to deputy's office, put him down in a cell somewhere, and be like, okay,
The whole time he's mumbling about how he was the one that was shot by somebody else. The entire time.
well, seems like he's been shot. So I'm going to see what's wrong here. Slash me checks injuries.
Flash me, you see basically massive bullet entry points along the left chest, and his entire lung is perforated by buckshot.
Oh, that seems real bad. Well, I'm just gonna quickly scrape these out and you'll be good to go. Slash me
Entire time,
scrapes out all
wheezing.
pellets, slaps a bandage on it, and applies smelling
And
salts.
screaming in agony. Screams in utter agony.
Apply
as
smelling
he's
salts,
very much
wakes you up.
speaking.
Hi, sir. Seems like you've been shot. But
Oh, Jesus, you don't say. Oh, dear.
you feeling all right? You good?
No, I can't breathe.
Can't breathe. Okay. Well,
Raspy the entire time.
well, maybe there's something. You need some water. You need something to fix your voice.
I'm not sure. It just feels like I just got a whole bunch of. I have a sudden. I shouldn't say that. That's no jokes allowed. It's cereal. Basically, he would reply to you about how he just, he's wheezing the entire time. It's wet and sappy when he's breathing.
Okay.
No idea what's going on.
Well, I'm gonna put you back
Now
under
slash
and
me
cut
with-
you open now.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Wait, does this smell like?
Punches in the face.
I was gonna go with, hey, does this smell like chloroform?
Yeah.
Chokes him out.
Yeah, just chokes him out real quick.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Slash me cuts open chest.
Oh dear, slash me. Entire rib, 3 ribs are missing,
Separate
and
the ribs.
yeah, and oh god, and the entire left lung.
Here,
is
hand me
punctured
that
with
chair
bullet holes.
leg. Grabs chair. Slash me grabs chair leg. Installs chair legs into ribs.
Great.
This is
Here, I'm
awful.
gonna grab this ceiling lamp and try to jump
Quickly.
start your ass.
Slash me quickly stitches up lungs. Slash me
You
closes
like
up.
that, did you, Jemma?
Closes up skin. Stitches up chest. Wakes back up with more smelling
Good.
salts.
This hurts. It hurts.
And Charleton is now a piece of furniture.
There you go. I stitched you up real good.
Charleton might be able to actually get.
Gave
a
you a
date now.
couple
Oh, wait,
extra
never
ribs.
mind,
That
never mind. Can't say
don't mind those lumps. They're normal.
At this point, he would just get up and walk out of the office.
Yep.
Perfectly fine.
All right.
Okay.
Have a
Oh,
good
yeah,
time.
it requires no. No, I think I feel fine. I don't need a checkup.
Okay. All right.
I'm good.
See you later.
Walks out, gets hit by wagon.
Doesn't ask for name. Doesn't do anything. Just all right. Cool. Done.
Nice to see you.
Yeah,
And that is a
What-
horrible
I have
scenario.
I think an important part of
Basically.
doctor roleplay that is missed a lot is people need to remember you need to think about follow-up. You need to think about what the implications of that injury is going to have on that patient, especially in the more serious scenarios, because it can lead to more role play. If a guy comes in, he's got a serious injury and you've done this, field surgery to repair his lung, you're going to tell him to come back and let me look at that in a week. Come back and let me check your stitches. And you're going to, as a doctor, you need to be responsible and be available for that as well.
Okay.
There's a comment I want to jump off of when we get a chance.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Scrappy made a good comment about people just walking out absolutely fine. And this goes for patients and doctors. One of the worst things you can do is say, no, I'm fine, get up and just walk out. And as a doctor, that's the worst thing you can do is just say, yeah, you're fine, and send them on their merry way. That's just poor etiquette. Well, technically it's fine. You're not obligated to give people your character's name. You're not
Fail
obligated to spend like a
RP.
last minute. It's just
Big
poor.
FRP.
It's just one of the worst things you could do. Is I have a perfect example. When I was in Old West, I had a guy who had 2 gunshot wounds, and it was like 3-letter responses. it's like little tiny things, and I'm like, okay, this is bearable. I'm trying to give them. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my normal doctoring thing. I'm giving them the RP they want, or that they have to go through. And short,
That's how it
sweet, to
should
the
be done,
point.
Prue, by the way. Prue,
Yeah,
that's
just.
exactly how it should be done.
Oh, does she make a good point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
And
said she did burr holes to drain fluids in someone's brain on Western and
yeah, I
insisted
thought
on checking up on them repeatedly after seeing. She still checks on them every time she sees them. That's good role play.
that's good role play. But I've had instances where I would revive. They would not respond to me at all. They would not respond to slash me's. And the minute they got up, they were out the door. They would run.
Yep.
And
They wouldn't
you are
say a
going to
word.
run into that as a doctor. As a patient, don't ever do that.
Yeah.
And as a doctor, whenever you have that, instantly open up a ticket. Try and get
Fail
whatever
RP.
you can, because that is fail
You
RP.
take out your
And that is.
goddamn handcuffs and slap them on them and put them back
I
in the
used to do
office.
that, actually. I used to do that. I had a guy flee
I
my
was like,
cell,
why?
slash, cheated his way out. He got out the door, actually went through the wall. I went out the door and threw a bolo and got him so hard, and I froze his butt with commands. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
temporary ban. According to this, you broke this rule, and just toast.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got in
And
the habit of
just-
locking the door behind me so they couldn't
Yeah.
escape.
The
yes,
other thing-
always lock your doors.
The other thing you
Always
can do
lock your
if they
doors.
are not responding with slash me's if they're down is just be like they're not
Pronounce
responding.
them dead.
Yeah, don't do that. But like, be like they aren't responding. I'm just gonna let a local doctor take care of it or whatever. Just set them somewhere and let them
Yeah.
go wherever.
Let them go. Yep. Do not put up with fail RP in patients as a doctor. If they
Yeah.
are not responding to you in slash me's,
Sometimes
it
they
can
just
be
walked
one of
away
two
because they don't
reasons.
think they're gonna get picked up.
One
Right.
reason could be that they don't know how. The other reason could be that they're just
They don't
assholes.
see the
and they don't
or
want-
they
they
don't
don't
see
want
the
to
slash
RP.
me.
Yeah, or they're just
Yeah.
That's where I'll pick them up and see. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, 'cause-
Assess the wound. Think about
Yeah.
sitting on the ground, and we'll get a look at you and
Yeah.
see what's going on.
Yeah, because I've had people that literally
Yeah.
did not know how to slash
Yes,
me, and
lady,
they
you're
got
right.
into county, had gotten clothes on, then got run over by a wagon. And I woke them up, and I started just having a conversation, because I've run into
Yeah.
people where
You're right,
normally you
lady.
don't talk when you're hurt. Normally, when you're unconscious, you just don't talk like that. That's just bad, poor RP etiquette. But sometimes you get like, oh, I had my hand run over by a wagon. It crushed my bones in my
It
hand. Okay,
happens,
I had to
Chad.
reset the bones, broken bones. So you can talk during times like that, but generally, just always be in mind, like you said, res them up, talk to them. That's always a good thing. And
Yeah.
as a patient, be open. Don't feel intimidated by educated doctors, or doctors with all these big words. Just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Just say, I got shot. Okay, where?
Yeah. I mean,
Shoulder.
we're not
That's
assholes.
all we need.
You know what I mean? We
Yeah,
want you to
definitely. I
have
am.
a good, enriching experience. In your med RP. So
Yeah.
we're
And
not
you
going to
can
berate you
always
for not knowing or anything like
and
that.
you can always use your voice. If you feel like somebody's not understanding the slash me's, I will wake somebody up sometimes and just literally have a conversation with them. And sometimes there are instances when I have slightly broken character just to teach people how to do something.
yeah,
And
and
ultimately you teach them one time and you teach them for a lifetime. So if you
Yeah.
have
Yep.
to do that, just take them away from other people, do it quietly, explain
Yep.
how it works, and then
Yep.
proceed with your role play.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know how to
And
take
the-
off my
The people's
shirt.
that's one thing you can do also as a patient to be better at having like patient RP is that when they say, "Oh, I'm just gonna clean this off with some alcohol," some people are just like, "Oh no, I'm so tough. I'm not gonna react to any of a needle being stuck in me or resetting of a bone or whiskey being poured on something that'll sting, but like doing that stuff makes it so much better for everyone, for you to be like or if they say, "Oh, I got to put a gagging belt," I literally take a pen and do this, and they're like, "Okay, all right, I'm ready for you. Go ahead, do it." Oh, like
Remind
do
me never
that.
to touch the pens at your house.
Okay, I won't.
People ask
But
me
I
for
literally
a
do
stick
that.
to bite on.
Yeah, sticks to bite
And
on,
all the parties
bandanas,
that
anything.
Charleton went to in Old West,
Makes
I
it-
had my pipes, and I was smoking a pipe the entire time. 'Cause
Yeah.
he was.
Just
And
like
it just made it interesting.
yeah, that little bit of extra method acting or whatever you want to call it makes it so much better for everyone and adds that little bit of
question
flavor.
here. There's also one thing I've noticed about people taking injuries to certain limbs and then disobeying the doctor's recommendation of not doing certain things. Recently in RP, I saw a man go through surgery on his left shoulder of 2 Lancaster rounds and was told not to go lifting things over his head. When it comes to this, I would like to see more people role playing that shit out. honestly. If you
Yeah,
get an
you should
injury,
role
I'd like
play
to
your injuries.
role
If
play
you're
your
Yeah.
gonna,
injury.
There
You
was
know,
one
it
person.
doesn't always happen, but
There was one person who did a really good job of that. I think his name was Valentino, because
yes,
he did a really good job of doing that, because he had stitches somewhere. I think it was his abdomen or like on some letters that he had that was carved into him. He had stitches, and he engaged in the same people who did that to him came into the bar, and he had a shootout with them, and then had to go back in and get his stitches restitched because they were burst, because he had
yeah,
really like exerted himself to a point that his stitches were burst, and it happened at least twice.
People have gotten lazy with medical RP. You know, they
Yeah.
RP in every other respect. They're RP gods, but they get injured and you never hear about it again.
Yeah.
There was such a
Yep.
thing as you have an injury, you're going to have long-lasting effects from the injury. Of course, you don't have to embellish it too much.
Yeah, and you
but
don't have to
use it a little
disable your
bit.
character entirely for like
No.
super long time. Some people
I mean,
do
I
that,
couldn't
but
talk for a week, I think, after I got shot. Before, like, when I went to the funeral for you guys
Yeah.
and all that, I couldn't
Yeah.
talk yet because it
In
had been too
Charleton,
close after.
one of the few times Charlton was abducted, other than Mamie, of course, was when I left Old West. And Charlton was abducted in a long string of kidnappings, and I ended up getting into a fist fight with the guy who was kidnapping me. And he basically stabbed me with a blade coated in wolfsbane. And, well, no, not coated in wolfsbane. He poured wolfsbane into the wound. But that blade slipped through my ribs and stabbed my lungs. And so Charlton, after they found him, basically, I was walking slowly. I was limping. I had a couple of injuries because typically that would take several months to kind of get over um, in terms of RP. So always be aware of the time scale of the server you're a part of, because in Western, every hour was essentially a day. So if I had people who were under arrest, or I had one of my deputies who were wounded, I'd tell them, hey, take a couple days off. And so for the next 2 or 3 hours, they would go off and do something else, or go take a break, or go get some food, and just not play their character. And then they'd come back and be ready to go. Oh, we better be getting lemonade this time, Gemma.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we
Where's
better all
our
be getting
lemonade?
They all want to know where their lemonade
What
is.
is the time scale on retribution? Does anybody know? Where's
I'm
John?
not sure off the top of my head.
John?
I heard that.
John.
I think it's the game time, so it'd be 45 minutes, you know what I mean, to a day.
Huh.
Like
Yeah.
the day-night cycle. I think that's like a static thing unless you change it. But I'm not positive.
Andy?
Oh,
It's for me?
no coffee. It's for me. What, my coffee? No, this is empty.
Damn it.
I
Mine's
I have to
too.
go make some more.
I gotta go make more too.
See, mine says wisdom and virtue in Latin, because mine is awesome. Because I am
Oh,
nerd.
good lord.
Yeah.
The only
I got
Latin I
Wonder
know
Woman
is from
mugs.
Boondock Saints, so don't.
Oh, I need to watch that movie. It's such a good. Hold on,
Doing
guys.
it fixing.
Just to prove my posh. I
Oh,
am
the
now.
pinky. The pinky. Yes, the pinky.
You gotta hold things like this. That's why. Just gotta hold.
But you know, the
See,
bottom
I
line
would
is,
get
I
my
guess,
other ones, but
for
I'd
all
probably
of
get us all
you,
in trouble
for
with
all
it.
of you wannabe doctors out there, please don't be afraid to do it. If you want a little advice on things,
and
you can always reach out to somebody who's been doing it a little longer. You don't have to be a freaking real life doctor. You don't have to be a real life nurse. You don't have to be any of that. It's
No.
very simple.
I'm not.
Down
I never
in
was.
the gutter medicine.
yeah, for all those guys, I'm a book nerd, and everything I know is just learned. I picked up
Yeah.
medical RP when Mamie hired Charleton on, when he was just bothering some poor deputy who was there and who was always there. And don't be afraid, especially you patients, don't be afraid to engage in medical RP with
Yes.
stuff like I got shot. Some of my worst wounds, when Charlton got stabbed in the gut one time, and the entire time I'm vocal, I'm awake, and I'm sitting there going, I can feel like I'm bleeding out because it nicked me right below the abdomen. Those are big bleeders. But basically, don't be afraid just to have basic things. Was stabbed in gut.
Even if you're not knocked out, say you're out. Okay, perfect scenario. We're out running around, all four of us one day, and some local went freaking bananas and starts shooting, and you get hit.
Yeah.
You
Gotta
don't
love that.
necessarily go down, but you get hit. Role play it out. Don't be afraid. I think
Nick
people
me in
are
the
embarrassed.
shoulder.
I think people are embarrassed that if they're not knocked out, they don't have a right to medical RP.
No,
Fuck
you
that.
do. If
you
anything
get hit,
happens,
yeah.
you can roleplay it
Role
out.
play
Be
it.
like, oh yeah, I got winged, or I got shot through
Yep.
through
One
this
of my
piece or
greatest
that piece.
experiences, we had a
However,
shootout in Valentine.
I will add, if you see that there is an intense medical scenario going on in front of you,
Oh, yes.
don't
God.
walk in with a walking injury and insist on getting care and interrupt the whole entire scene. This happens every time and it drives me crazy. Read the room. Look at
don't
what's going on
during a
around you.
surgery and ask
Read the
me if
room
you
is
can get
Yes.
is
I
another
want to make a
topic we're
point
gonna
about
do.
that. I want to make a point about that actually, about good patient etiquette and non-involved etiquette. If you are somebody who's hurt, you arrive at a doctor scene, do not stand at the window when doctors are sitting there treating somebody or involving them when you are not directly involved.
Don't
Because I have
fucking
two
ask me to
scenarios.
sell you tonics when I'm trying to take care of a patient. I'll fucking
Oh my
shoot you.
god, yes.
Make you a
like,
patient.
no, not right
It
now.
infuriates us.
Don't yeah.
I had
Take
I
a
had
second, walk
two
in,
scenarios.
look, listen. Just give it a second before you say something, because sometimes
Be
Read the
fucking
room,
respectful
people.
to
Read
the
the room.
RP. Be respectful to the medical RP that is going on.
Read the
Don't
room.
fucking come in
Mhm.
and ask a bunch of stupid questions to the doctor when they're leaning over a patient on the floor. It happens so often.
Hmm
So often.
Yep.
It's actually much better
Because-
in Retry than I've ever seen anywhere.
is,
So
it
we're
is, it
lucky in
is.
that regard that the doctors and patient
Because you normally
RP
don't
is
have those
so
deep surgeries.
so much better. Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
not just not having the deep surgeries, it's that people seem to know how to RP a little better
Yeah.
here. There you don't have a lot of the
I
shit.
agree.
There's
going
a
on.
lot more.
Hey, can you sell me a
respect.
couple of tonics?
I mean, people for the
Oh,
most part
God.
know not to stand behind horses. So there's a
Yeah.
lot less horse kicks than I think I've ever seen.
Although
ever.
these horses kick sideways and out
They
of
do.
nowhere.
You just got to be careful
Yeah,
about that.
found that one out.
Cougars are a
it's
little more
always
active.
Cougars are way
Yeah.
more active.
yeah,
Oh my
that
god.
and the rocks,
Yeah.
like the cliffs, are utterly
Yeah.
evil when you try to like
Yep.
ride up the cliff. Your
Yeah.
driver will just get yourself thrown,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll all just get hurt or wounded,
Yep.
or you'll run into a fence and just immediately die and fall over
Yeah.
to the side.
The
and
trip
just
over
go
a
all this other
porch.
stuff. Yeah, just randomly trip over something riding a horse. Oh god,
Uh-huh.
I've gone off a cliff. Oh.
Or run into your friend who also has a horse and go flying.
Oh no! Or
Yeah.
drop a wagon on your
Or
friend.
yeah, or drive a wagon.
I mean,
one.
I have this nasty habit of dropping a canoe on my head every time I try to spawn it in.
Yep.
And so I'm starting to blame all of Charlton's memory problems with names on that. So just, the fact I can't remember somebody's name is not the issue. It's the canoe.
Yep. It's all the
Trying
kid's
to,
Definitely the
fault.
canoe.
trying to learn how to quick draw from your friend and shooting her in the face with your
Oh
sawed
no, that never happened. I don't recall that.
Oh, yeah.
You
or
got
trying
yelled
to get
at?
Yeah,
promoted,
just
and
as
then you
she's
got, abducted.
Andy, just as she said, just remember not to.
Yeah. Oh
Not
my
to-
god.
Blew her right off the roof.
That was ridiculous.
Oh.
I was like, oh yeah, just
I
make
don't
sure you don't double tap.
yeah.
Like that.
Just like
No,
that.
I think my exact response was, what did I just say? What did I just say?
Okay,
I'll never
and that
forget
brings
some-
up another subject. There are moments where things will happen
Accidentally.
that are just an accident and you just don't want to role play that shit.
Like unintended, like just not the
shooting
time.
someone in the face.
you were off goofing off somewhere, and it doesn't need to suddenly become a big medical scenario where suddenly you're down and you have to have like life-saving surgery. Like
Yep.
there's times and places.
Don't take me out for a fun trip in the woods with you and then use me as a doctor while you goof off and screw off
Oh
and
my
knock each
God,
other
that's
out.
the
And then
worst.
expect me to role play your injuries out on a serious level. Oh my
Yep.
God, I think my spine is broken. I'm going to need intervention. I'm just trying to have fun like the rest of you guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
come
Doctors
on.
are people too.
Yep.
They're
Don't
throwing each
do
other
that.
off cliffs 'cause
Since
there's
when?
a
I thought we were NPCs.
That is the
Also,
worst
I heard
feeling
something
to
earlier
feel
about
like you're an
this in
NPC.
regards to doing medical RP without being a
Awful.
doctor. In another server, I'm a deputy and fine for deputies. It makes sense to have someone as a medic. Like I know, but
I will comment on that one actually.
surely because
'cause
I'm
I
not a
had-
doctor. You know what? Look, basic field medicine is easy shit. Slap
the
a
thing.
bandage on it to stem the
First
bleeding.
aid,
That's it.
all that stuff.
That
Some
existed.
people know how to make poultices even though they were never doctors. There's
Nash.
Let me
all
give a
sorts-
historical example here, because people have been treating themselves for hundreds of years, even in the East Coast. The East Coast was settled in the 1700s, and most people back then knew what it called old wives' tales. If any of you guys have ever heard of the Foxfire books, it's literally like 9 or 10 volume series from like the 1930s and 40s of just old wives' tales treatments of like sunburn, putting vinegar on your skin to help with
Yeah.
a sunburn. My grandmother
just-
did that to me all the time. Things like
Also,
that.
you need
People
to
have taken care of
understand,
themselves for years.
Rhett doesn't want field medics. We want doctors. If you're a field medic, you're taking away Dr. RP. The only thing you need to know as a person outside is put a bandage on it to stop the bleeding or a tourniquet and bring them to a doctor. Leave the role play, the medical role play for the medical role players. If you want to be a doctor and you have such a desire to be a field medic, go be a doctor. We don't want to divide up roles like that, because when you start dividing up roles like that, it gets complicated and it makes it irritating and annoying for other people. And it takes role play away from the people who want to do the medical role play.
Yeah.
So just don't worry about it. That's the best advice. I
You can do basic first aid triage stuff as any
Yeah.
player,
Stabilize,
Yeah.
but when it comes to actually dealing with like that role play is only just so far as to get them from lying in the grass somewhere out in the field to, you know, still living when they get to the doctor's office. Like, that is the only point of triage and stuff like that.
Yeah, keeping them
Don't-
alive till
Yeah.
a doctor
Yep.
gets there, stuff
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
You know,
Don't abuse your medical friends, please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
because it's just
something-
an etiquette thing.
It
I
do-
had
that
someone
is something
do
that's
it
so
right in front of me.
frustrating. Yeah, it's horrible and it happens a lot.
Demoralizing.
Yeah,
it is.
it is.
It really
It
is.
can be.
It is.
It's
Because always try to
It-
put yourself as a patient in their shoes as well.
Yeah.
Like if you were responding to a scene with the RP that you love and enjoy, like as doctors, how would you feel if someone just res their friend right in front of you because they got into a massive shootout and they needed to get back up and go? I had that happen to me in Saint Denis,
yeah.
and I was so furious, and I didn't have the info to report them for fail RP
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they just tonicked them and went.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think next subject, maybe we should move on over to patient RP. We've kind of covered
We covered it a bit.
We
We've
dabbled
been
with it.
very back and forth on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We kind of in both. I mean, generally, I would say the best thing for patients, especially with me being one now. Again, I've got doctor experience, and Charlton's nasty at telling people what to do and how to do it. And so, and no, I didn't expect that. But generally, as a patient, always keep in mind that you don't.
Just
Your
rub some spit on
lots
it,
of
it's fine.
experience is not
Just
required.
Spit on it, it's fine.
Medical degrees are not required. And always be courteous and kind and understanding for the people who are responding. Don't, in retribution, don't take hour-long sessions. And you shouldn't be going through an hour-long, I got shot in the shoulder sessions, as I call them.
Yeah.
And generally just be respectful and RP it out. Even if it's, I got shot in my shoulder. Oh dear. How do we do it? And just go back and forth.
Yeah.
And you/me's, you/do's. And if they res you, use your voice. Say, yeah, man, my shoulder's really hurting. Because when I res Charleton, he got gonked in the head. So I'm like, who am I? Where am I? What's going on? I remember this. I barely remember this. And then everything went lights out. Okay, my shoulder really hurts. Can you look at this, please? Because it's just back here and you can't really move your neck because it hurts to move. And
not
everything
everybody is a
hurts.
goddamn Academy Award winner, so don't fucking be worried about it.
Yeah.
Just role play. I don't care if you.
It takes
I don't care
time
if
to
you're
like
"Oh,
get comfortable with that
God,
stuff.
It hurts so bad. It does. That is one of the most.
Put it this way. When I first started doctoring for Mamie, I'll never forget. I did 3 hours. Mamie remembers this because I did Friday, Saturday, and Sunday almost all day as doctoring. When I was hired on Friday night or something, wasn't it Friday night? I think maybe.
Mhm,
I had
mhm.
Buck Grayson Friday and Saturday as like my shadow, and so I'm trying to do doctoring that I had been told, and I had a murder on my hands as an assistant doctor, and then Buck walked in and started throwing all these names and all these big Latin words that only I now can translate. And it's just like I felt so tiny because I'm like, looks for wounds, finds gunshot, opens wound, cleans the wound, removes the gun, removes the bullet,
What are you
cleans the
saying,
wound,
Charlotte?
sutures it, applies herbal salves and bandage. That was my go-to gunshot treatment every time. I did not say I took my refractor and opened the wound and took my
No.
forceps
I don't know
and
what you're
pulled them
saying,
out.
Shorts. That is a
I
confusing
only did
sentence
that,
you just
even
put
when I
in there.
learned, I only did that with surgeries that were requested and planned,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah,
wanted to do that.
exactly.
So don't be afraid to have simple stuff, and don't be afraid to take up doctoring.
Yes.
Or
But
any of
also
that stuff
read the
if you
room,
so
because it
inclined.
is possible that that doctor has been on for 10 hours and is just going to go to sleep, and then you come in with something,
Yeah.
and it's if they seem
45
like
minutes
yeah
surgery.
if they seem
Yep.
like they're just read it a little bit. If they seem to
Yeah.
want to rush through it or whatever, just consider that sort of stuff. It's not great when that happens, but it does happen when somebody's,
does,
you
it
know,
does.
because this is a game and we are, you know, real people behind everything. We do have real lives sometimes, some of us.
Yes,
So, you
indeed.
know, sometimes you just gotta go.
Don't
And
engage your doctors in heavy RP scenarios without their consent. That
Yep.
would be my
yeah,
my big
test the
suggestion.
waters a little bit. Make sure that
Yeah.
they're responding, you know, like give them a little bit before you go, you know, that full, you know, crazy however long,
Yes.
you know, surgery scenario.
Yes, Nash, it's just a game.
Right.
So yeah, just test the waters a little bit before you like give them the flood, you know.
Yeah.
It's like be aware, try to read them a little bit. Like if they seem tired, if they seem, you know, short with you or whatever, just be aware that possibly they want to, you know, get out of that scenario to go be in real life and get out of the game, or maybe they've just had a hard day, or maybe they've had a bunch of shitlords. Who knows? Sometimes
and doctors have stories too. Doctors they want to go out and role play. They want to go out and live out their stories and their character's life outside of the doctor's office.
Yeah.
So, you know, just be considerate of your fellow players. I mean, that's on both sides, both doctors and patients. You know, and it'll be all right.
Yep.
Prue, your comment, it's in the dining room. You live with other people. You'll never hear. Oh my God. When Andy and I died, when we perma'd on Old West, our first perma, holy shit. I thought my neighbors were going to call the cops.
Yeah, I
man.
was gonna say.
Oh,
knock
wait,
on
you mean
the
in
door.
Old
I
West?
remember that.
Yeah, my
And
neighbors
you
probably.
screaming when you were
My
lit on
neighbors.
fire. I was like,
It was like
oh my
it was
God.
like past 11 p.m. at night, and I'm sure my neighbors thought I was dying. So I was just like, ah! Ah!
Oh,
I'm
you
so glad I live
I
screamed.
alone behind
Have
my
you not
landlord's
seen
house.
that video, Prue? You need to watch our first perma. Mamie and Andy died
Oh,
together
Oh,
on
dear.
Old West.
It was so.
Dear
Couldn't still
God, it
watch
was
it. I'll get
brutal.
it.
I
I'll
feel
get
like it was a little crap because I
You still
felt like
have it,
I was
maybe?
I just didn't have any I like completely blanked on anything good to say at the end.
Scrappy, link that for her. The video's on my YouTube. It's called Fade to Black. There you go. Go, Prue.
I
You're gonna.
remember that so
I
well.
have some
It was
clips of it.
brutal. It was brutal.
It was rough. And then the
It
thing I
was.
didn't like about that was that they shot off my head, or like I was a torso
That
at the end of it.
I
I was like, how are they
that
going to
either. That
identify
bothered
that
me.
it's even me, that I'm dead? I don't even have dental records
That's
or
another thing
anything.
we should have mentioned
Yeah.
when
Go
dealing
ahead.
with. I was going to say it's another thing we need to mention when dealing with people is don't blow limbs off because then you're going to ruin the medical RP of the
Yeah,
person or the people.
You're removing their choice in that matter of certain
Yeah.
things, you know. Don't
It's
blow
a
off people's
dignity
things.
thing.
That too.
Yeah.
It really is.
You know, Andy and I had been we almost role played a year on that, sir. No, what, 6 months maybe? We had built up a huge story anyway. Andy and Mamie were very tight on it, and they lived together and they died together. And I think that the big thing with that was it bothered me that they did that.
Like, I understand that they're brutal people and everything, but it seemed a tad unnecessary for them to do that. Like, you know, just a little bit. But
what
it is what it is.
5.5. Can you? Prue, you're gonna want to go. Okay, you know where my house is now on Tilly, right? It's the same house. If you go there, you will see Jemma and Shorts and Andy and Mamie, and they're boxing each other. I believe the time period is.
Remember the stamp on
I
that.
can find the timestamp on it for you. Scrappy, I think, is looking for it. It's over halfway through it. It's after a restart. So if you go down, scroll through till you see the restart, it was immediately after the restart. Gemma and I and Andy, we were all boxing around and kind of playing around on the beach.
Yeah.
That's where it begins. And the thing that made it so horrible and brutal was because we'd role played for so long on there, and we had such a story and such a great group of people. And Gemma and Shorts in that last scene, oh my God.
I felt bad.
But it was so beautiful to hear Shorts say,
it was kind of,
you're right.
It was kind of against.
Still remember, hey, Lucky, how's it going? Hey, Gemma, good to see you.
Yeah.
That whole scenario was sort of against
I
my personal RP principles in general, but it was like, it was time for the characters and we had agreed that we would go together. So even though the Sevens really didn't know who Andy was or anything about Andy, really, even how closely connected she was to Mamie and how much it meant if Andy had died. Which it just seemed like they didn't quite know any of that stuff. So as much as in my RP, mind, it was like, well, this is not an earned moment. I shouldn't be here doing this because they don't know who I am or the significance of everything that's happening. But they did it, because we asked them to, and stuff like that, because we wanted to go out together. And the place that our characters were in was just a place that we couldn't really come back from, and we wanted to end it before they became the villains of the story. We wanted to leave them on a hero's note rather than have them be destroyed.
Because Mamie was literally getting destroyed. She was in a cycle of violence with so many gangs that there was no way she was going to get out of it. And she had been kidnapped 3 times, and
it just
got to the point.
It was just
got to the point where it was like, okay, we need to make an exit before our characters are just literally ruined. Mamie was starting to look like a paranoid lunatic, and I didn't want that for her. So we made the choice to ask them to help us, and we permitted, and it was a good ride. I'm not gonna lie, it was a.
They
good
did their
ride,
best to
and
get us somewhere too. That part I appreciated, that they rode to Saint Denis to drop us off or whatever. But there was no one around. It really.
Oh my god!
They rode around
Remember
for
when the
an
horse
hour.
Took off with my body on the
yeah,
back of it?
yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
So
no, but also that whole thing, the respect for it. Mary Bell actually did take the time. Mary Bell actually did take the time to do some things in that scenario, in our perma scenario, that were just incredible.
Yeah.
She knew Mamie in and out, and she knew exactly what to do to throw the worst insult possible on her, as knowing that her life was going to end, and just giving it that final blow that was just dirty, but it was well done. Yep, she did it. So that's
Evie
a sign
found
of a good
Shorts
role
and I at the end of that dock so that we could.
Evie was incredible.
Evie was really
God, I miss
good.
her.
Oh my god, Evie did
I
so
miss
good.
that woman. I miss that woman. She did
so good.
When she found Mamie,
I was like,
she wouldn't stop. She was like, we have to find Andy because they need to be together.
It
and
was,
she was just
so good. I was
she
crying.
was so good. Oh my god.
Charleton's favorite little Padawan.
Yeah,
she was so good.
So good.
I miss that girl. I really did.
Yeah,
broke my heart. Broke my damn heart. That woman.
It did. Hold on. What's wrong?
No.
Guys, I got a massive spider, and Henrietta can't kill it, so I have to go on spider killing duty.
Yeah, I had one crawling around here somewhere.
I don't want to do this. I hate spiders.
We should go.
Can we just not mention it, please?
I'll take a picture.
No, wait, Jackie.
Don't mention spiders?
No. Well,
where is it?
We will end with the spider hunt of 2021.
And really? Yeah, I gotta
because
go,
I also have to go. But this is great, guys. Thank you for coming. I know Jackie's not here right now. She's going and dealing with spiders, but I'm sure she would say the same.
I need a baseball bat. This thing is monstrous.
Let's not talk about it, Mamie, please. Mamie,
stop. Oh my.
Help. I don't want to do
Okay, everyone smack. Everyone smack.
It looks like a scene from Paranormal
I know,
Activity.
like something's gonna walk past the hallway, like someone's gonna walk past the hallway. The coats are gonna move, or I don't know what the fuck. There's some shit gonna happen. That like whatever that coat thing is, halfway down the hall is gonna start moving, and I'm gonna freak out.
Like it is now.
Oh god.
I mean, y'all can go. I'll keep answering questions.
Okay.
There's a couple in there because they're talking about local doctors.
Thank you, Jemma, for coming.
Serious injuries.
Thank you, guys.
We love you.
Wonderful.
I love you all.
Pleasure as always.
I
kept my jokes under control, Gemma.
I know. I'm very proud of you.
I do love to tell Dad jokes. Sometimes he laughs.
Oh, we're gonna leave him here, and he's just gonna do a bunch of them. You know he is.
Oh my god.
I'll behave. I promise.
Oh my god.
You got it?
You got it?
Okay, let's
Bye.
Bye,
guys. Thank you.
Taking my shoes off. What if
love
there's
you.
Another one in here.
Yep, love you guys.
Oh,
all right.
God.
So to answer that last question about local doctors with serious injuries, there's sometimes you're going to run into people that just will completely disregard medical RP sometimes. You say, yeah, just leave me to the locals. That's generally just something that if it's a doctor, that's not. I think a good doctor. You should never, as a doctor, be saying, "Oh, the locals will get to him." Well, I'll walk that back. I've done that on some days where I've had a really bad day, and I'm on the way out the door, and can take them to the locals. There are sometimes where you have someone who's fallen off the roof of the Saint Denis doctor's office 4 times, trying to get onto your roof so that
Do
they
you
can
see my
bother you.
glasses anywhere?
Those type of people generally are not worthy of your treatment generally, because that's just a waste of time, because they're not going to value your time. They obviously don't, because they've come back to you 3, 4, 5 times, and you've told them, don't go off of the roof, don't go on the roof. So you've hurt your legs, you've broken your legs, don't go jump off. That's it's really that balancing act on the fence. You need to balance out your treatment
Yes,
between
you do.
your conduct. And if someone's not going to respect your time, then you're not obligated to give them your time. That was something I had to learn a lot, because I want to help everybody,
Yeah.
especially
Gotta
my
set your
care group.
boundaries
And
as
you
doctors
have
too.
to set
And it
boundaries.
sucks when you
Like
have to, but you do. You gotta
Yeah,
respect
I
your
would
time, you gotta
never.
respect their time. And if they're not
Yep,
going to
I
respect your
will
time, you
never
don't
work
have
on
to
an
respect
OBGYN
theirs.
case ever.
That's just,
What happened, Prue? Let me see.
I gotta go.
Someone was
But I
saying,
love
I'm
you.
gonna
okay,
watch that. Where are you
bye,
going?
Andy.
I have to go visit my family. It's that day.
Oh, are you coming back later to play?
Yeah, I'll be back later. I can't stay up too late because I have
Everyone
work
has lives. Where'd
tomorrow.
they get these
I have
things?
work
Andy,
tomorrow, so I
Andy,
can't.
Andy.
What?
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
See you when you get
I
home.
do have work tomorrow, so I can't stay up too late tonight, unfortunately. But I'll try to be back at a decent hour to get a little bit more in
Okay.
before. Maybe I'll just do a drawing stream. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but
Kezi.
what you want to be? You want some Kezi time? Is that what you want?
Kezi time.
Do
Kezi
it.
time. Yes.
Charleton will be
Everybody
following
loves
Thank you,
Kezi.
Dizzy. Love you, Scrappy. Bye,
Yeah.
bye. Love you all. You're all amazing. Keep RPing your best. Respect each other. Love each other. I love you all. And I will see you next time.
See you,
And I'll
Andy.
see
Oh,
you in
that's terrible,
game.
Prue. That's not good. Don't
Goodbye.
you'll never have I will never do
Mwah.
that to you, I promise.
Thank
Bye,
you, John.
Andy. Love you.
Love you, Jackie.
All right,
Yep.
guys, I'm gonna go get in queue.